Yeah. All right.
Now we're back.
Now we're going.
Now we're in it.
Okay,
Oh
so-
my god, that was the second time. That could have been the second time I've done that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you noticed now.
Oh, I'm glad that I noticed.
I was
now.
just about to go on a huge
To
tangent.
be fair though, we just talked a lot of shit just then, so we haven't
nothing.
got any gold. And I've also do have it, so it's just the audio is going to be not so good.
Nothing in there was groundbreaking news.
But we're here with fellow nomad Baxter Maiwald. We're both up here on the Gold Coast, stuck in a van. Well, we're in a van now. So you're kind of stuck in a bus.
I'm sort of, I don't know if I'm even a nomad at this point. I can't move.
Yeah, you're nomad.
I'm stuck.
Do you have to hand your card back in or something?
I'm just
Do you resign?
There's no mad
There's
about
no
it.
mad. It's just
no.
Oh, you're just a pensioner now.
Yeah, something.
So we're up here.
Yeah.
You're stuck.
Yeah.
Let's
You're not so stuck.
I'm not so stuck. I can transport, move around.
Yeah.
But
I can too, because boomers have been
sorted
so
you out.
kind and let me drive their troopy around during the week. But yeah, the bus.
Let's talk about the bus that turned into your home that's now turned into a car park.
Yeah, it's now just a home.
What is it though? What is it?
It's a Toyota Coaster. It's 1986, and for some stupid reason they spec'd it with a 2.4 litre petrol engine, so it's just like the slowest thing on earth. And I feel like that could be some of the reason why we're having so many issues with it.
What issues are we having with it?
Lots. So when
narrow down the big ones.
At the moment, it's got a blown head gasket, and that's the issue that I know about.
It's also for sale for anyone that wants to buy it.
It's for sale. Going cheap.
How much?
At this point, I'd take a high five and a six pack, but probably need to get like I don't know, as close to 10 grand as I can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're out there listening, you want to buy a project.
I'll put it out soon, and you know,
emphasis on the project bit.
It could be a good tiny home.
Yeah, I reckon it would actually, like, if you didn't care if it ran and you just got it towed, it is like, it's a dialed setup to live in. If you've got somewhere to park it.
Imagine that you just take it to someone's house, park it out the back, because it's movable, and then you could just, it's already kitted out, you could just have a little granny flat out the back.
Yeah, 100%.
If any rich people on the Gold Coast need a granny flat out the back of their house.
Yeah, or if you've got like a bit of land and you want just,
shack,
something for the weekend, put a roof on it. It doesn't leak. Well, it doesn't leak as it is, but
yeah, if
yeah,
you want to
put
do
a
that.
roof on it. But anyway, do you want to hear the full story about the bus?
Yeah.
Should we go from the start?
Yeah, take us back.
All right,
I
so
want full rant as well.
full rant.
Full rant.
Oh, shit.
Everything in it.
I think I need a bit of water for this.
No stone unturned. I want to hear all the good bits, all the bad bits.
All right, so I kind of the initial idea about buying the bus was like I quit my job in October last year, so I could like 100% focus on trying to make a career as a bike rider. So I figured if I had a van, sort of, this is my first thought, like what we're sitting in right now, something like this. If I had a van, it would mean I don't have to pay rent. I've got transport. I can be at any event that I need to be at or wherever I need to be for however long I need to be there for to do whatever I needed to do. Vague plans, but like it would basically just allow me to be transient and just ride my bike as much as possible. And then I started looking at coasters and I was like, this would be pretty sick. Like I like the aesthetic of it. I like the idea of it being an old bus. And then I had heaps of ideas about using the bus for like the centerpiece of a YouTube channel, and like I had all these crazy ideas for it. It was going to be pretty sick.
And the size as well to like do what you want to do. 'Cause
Yeah.
living out of this is a bit small. Like
Yeah,
for
like
long-term.
it's like a full apartment.
Mm.
It's like a small, tiny little apartment. The only downside is that it's built in the 80s and I'm like 6'3", so standing up straight in it is like a little bit of an issue, but it's fine, is what it is. But it's got enough room. Like it feels like a house. If it's raining or whatever, like being in here when it's raining would suck.
Yeah, it's a bit claustrophobic.
But like in the bus, you can like walk from one end to the other. Like it feels more like a little house. So I bought that thing because it was actually parked in Dan Booker's mum's backyard in National Park. And I was staying at Dan's place just right in Medina, and I was talking to Sue, his mum. And I was like, oh, Sue, like I'm going to look at a coaster tomorrow. Like it was like the next day or whatever. And she just looked in the backyard and she was like, oh, that one's for sale if you want it. And I was like, you're joking me. Like this is too good kind of thing.
It's always too good.
Yeah, it's always too good. So I got the details of the people that used to own it. They used to work at Medina, so that's how it ended up there. Basically, I don't know too much about it, but I think they split up and the bus was kind of just left behind. They were from Sydney or something, so they moved back or whatever they did. I got the details of those guys, and long story short, they only wanted like $5,000 for it, which was insane to me, having no money at the time. I was like, cool, I can sell my Hilux and buy that easy. So I had a mate, Flynn, come and look at it because he's a diesel mechanic. Opened up the hood, or like the engine bay.
Engine bay, yeah.
It's in the living room floor. And Flynn was like, oh, it's a petrol. I was like, well, is that good or bad? And he was like, oh, it doesn't really matter. And we drove it, took it for a test drive. Flynn was like, yep, seems all good. They'd just had the engine rebuilt recently because they ran it without oil and punched a hole in the block. So I thought...
Did you know that at the time?
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
But for me, not knowing much about like engines, I was like, cool, that means it's just been rebuilt by a mechanic. Like it's pretty much brand new, ready to go. They've done like... I think he said they'd probably done like 5,000-6,000 Ks on the rebuilt engine. And then they just bought a house in Medina and it never went anywhere. So I thought, bargain. Had everything like they had already been living in it beforehand. It had solar, had a fridge, like it was ready to go basically.
Set up, yeah.
I was just going to change like the layout of it a little bit. And then already before I even left Tassie, so long story short, I bought it. Yeah. And then I bought it whilst I was filming Notion, that video project. And then finished that. I had the ferry booked for it, packed up all my shit, drove to Mum and Dad's place, and I was just going to work on it at Mum and Dad's and then do this massive epic trip.
Where's Mum and Dad based? They're in
Emerald in Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Dandenong Ranges, Yarra Valley kind of zone.
Yeah.
We're like 40 minutes from Warburton, which just got announced that it's going ahead.
It's finally doing it.
Yeah. People that don't know what that is, that's going to go straight over their head. But anyway,
we'll
go back to it.
Yeah, we'll piece it back together.
So where are we at? So already driving from Hobart to the boat, I started having troubles with something that I don't know what it was, but if anybody watched the one YouTube video that I put out about the bus, you'll know about the problems. But pretty much I had it fully packed, ready to go, went to turn the key and just nothing. So I got a mate, he came and jump started me, and then I drove to the boat, stopped for fuel on the way because like it's a pretty big drive obviously. Key did nothing, wouldn't start. I was like, fuck, what's going on here? Had to like roll start it at like 11:30 at night in the servo backwards because I was facing uphill. And then I just made it to the ferry terminal. I had a morning sail, so I had to be there to get on the boat at like 6 a.m. or whatever. I just parked in the car park of the ferry terminal and was like, well, I'm here. Like, I'll just figure it out when I wake up kind of thing. Woke up, key did nothing. Like, it was like the alternator wasn't charging the battery or something. Key did absolutely nothing. Got some bloke in line to jumpstart me, made it onto the boat, and then was like, cool, well, I guess we'll just figure it out when we get there kind of thing. At least then I'll be in Melbourne.
I was going to say, at least be on the boat. Like, they're going to help you get off the boat.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I made it onto the boat, and I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
We're good. Yeah.
They're going to tow me off if it's worst case scenario.
Exactly. And then I didn't hear, have you been on the Spirit?
Yeah.
I'm going to assume. They, like, call what floor and number gate you are for, like, the order to leave or whatever.
Because you said you missed it.
Yeah.
But like as soon as they wake you up, I'm like, I'm just gonna go straight to my car anyway.
Well, it was a day sale.
Yeah. But as soon as you I just would have gone straight there. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think we were like first, so I just was like,
you were just chilling.
I don't know what I was doing.
You were chilling.
Yeah, I was chilling.
You're just trying to think of other things to do.
Yeah,
trying to think of other things to do than going and try and not start your car.
Exactly, yeah. And so I missed a call, and then they like paged my name over. Well, they paged my rego over the loudspeaker. And I was like, "Fuck!" I like ran down. Are we allowed to swear on this, by the way?
Yeah, go to town.
Yeah, cool.
Try not to.
Yeah,
it's fine. Don't swear, kids.
Contextually, I needed. Yeah. If it needs to be said, it needs to be said. Yeah. Anyway, so I went down to the bus, and I was like, "Well, this is going to be funny." Like they're obviously waiting for me. There's like a massive line behind me. I'm like, gonna get in there. It's not gonna start. So I was like, oh, I wonder how this is gonna go. Like walked all the way down there, sort of like said sorry to the dude, jumped in the bus, turned the key, fired up like as if nothing happened. Never had an issue since.
It just fixed itself.
I don't know what. I still don't know what it was.
The spirit of
Yeah.
Tasmania fixed your van.
It fixed it. Yeah. Anyway, so then I drove.
really love the fact that like you in your mind you're like, this isn't going to start.
Yeah.
Yet you didn't try and go down early to like see. So then at
like-
least if it didn't, you could be like, can someone help me? But you just like you rocked up late, but then luckily it paid off.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking.
You just
Yeah, but it worked out all good. And then so I drove. I kind of like was still a bit nervous on the whole starting scenario, and luckily I had enough fuel, so I just drove straight to mum and dad's place. And then I was like, cool, I've made it to a safe space, and just started like ripping into doing like the full like fit out. So I pulled everything out of it, did like a massive tip run. I recycled most of the timber that I pulled out, and then I like all of the cabinetry and cupboards and everything in the bus is all, except for I think like probably spent like $100 on timber, if that. Like
Really?
most of it's all recycled. I recycled as many of the screws as I could as I was pulling it apart. Like, and that gives it's got like a pretty sick aesthetic when you walk in.
Yeah.
Because everything is like all odd shapes and different colors and all like recycled stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I like about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, built it all. It's never been finished, but I just got it to a point where I was like comfortable to live in.
This is good, yeah.
The good thing about buying it off the people I bought it off was that like all the expensive stuff was already in it. Like it had a fridge, it had solar, it had dual batteries. Like I pretty much paid for like a solar setup and got a free bus. And
now you can also buy a free solar setup.
yeah,
if
you could buy a free solar setup and a fridge.
And some recycled timber.
Yeah.
We're really selling it.
Yeah. And you'll look cool wherever you park it.
Exactly.
It does look sick, but it just doesn't run.
Doesn't move far.
At
the moment. We'll
Yeah, currently,
Doesn't
yeah.
move right now.
Yeah. Also, alternatively, if no one wants to buy it, but you're a mechanic and you're listening to this and you want to come and help me fix it, I'll happily.
We'll take anyone at this
I'll
point.
take whatever I can
Yeah.
get. So where are we up to? Yeah.
You recycled
yeah.
everything.
I finished building everything. There was a BMX jam at my mate's place in Young, New South Wales, which is kind of like just a bit inland from Canberra. So me and my mate, I was going to go up there by myself and then kind of just do like a test trip almost, like just go up there, spend a few weeks. Like we went to Canberra, went there, then come back to Melbourne and then see if I wanted to change anything and then take off on my actual trip. And my mate Harrison had like, he'd just broken up with his girlfriend. He had a broken ankle. He like wasn't working, kind of just wasn't really, he couldn't do much. So I was just like, get in the bus, like we're going on a trip. So I took him with me because I knew we were doing a round trip.
Yeah.
Went to Bright for Pineapple Express.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Then went to Canberra for a bit and then went to Young for a bit. And that trip was sick. I had some starting issues when we got to Young. And I think it was just because it's so cold up there. Didn't like start when it was cold. So put a new fuel, like inline fuel filter in it and a couple other little bits and pieces, and that sort of seemed to fix it. And I was like, cool.
We're good.
Yeah. Got back to Melbourne. That was like a 3.5 week trip. And so far, that's the only actual traveling I've done in the bus. And I bought the bus in April.
Didn't you travel up here though, or you just like?
Yeah, I pinned it up here.
You didn't actually like stop and like.
Not really. It took me
explore
like 4 days to get from Melbourne to the Gold Coast.
You just A-lined it,
pretty much.
but that was like the first trip being in it and actually using it. For
yeah,
what you
like
wanted to use it
actually
for.
just like pottering around and parking wherever we wanted.
And going to events,
just
and,
doing
like, that was
just
the
doing
goal.
whatever. Yeah. Well, the initial like idea.
Yeah.
I was gonna go to WA in it.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was gonna go to WA, do I think there was a race over there I was going to do. And then...
Like where in WA? Like just Perth or something?
Yeah, probably just Perth. I was going to go catch up with that dude from the Beers and Bike Show. I have to know it. Can I look at my phone? I got to look at my town. I got to look at it.
Imagine that
so
though. Imagine
upset.
being halfway on the Nullarbor.
Oh, I'm so lucky I didn't go that way.
Oh. Imagine like how hard it would be to actually get help being in the middle of nowhere on the Nullarbor with this van. Just
yeah, you would be so cooked.
At least up here, like, you know people, there's work, you can hopefully find a mechanic, you can find someone to do a podcast with that will then, in hope, find you
Yeah,
someone to
hopefully
buy
this
it.
leads to something good.
Can I get a commission for this? I'll put it. I promise any commission I get, I'll put back into the podcast. It'll go solely into the new studio.
If somebody buys it purely from listening to the podcast,
If they're like, if anyone does buy it, use the code Dinos Mykonos in the checkout, and I will send you some merch. So you get a bus and merch.
Yeah.
What else can we throw in? What else can we give these whoever buys it? We got to sweeten the deal.
David. I was gonna say Dave, but David Baker is the guy. Yeah.
Shout out David Baker.
Shout out David.
And what's his
Baker.
podcast?
Stuck in the Bunting.
Stuck in the Bunting.
Yeah, it's
All
pretty fresh.
Yeah.
So I was gonna go over there, and I was actually gonna do an episode with the Beers and Bikes show.
Yeah.
And a couple other things in WA. They got some cool stuff going on over there.
Yeah.
Geordie and the guys at like Three Chilies. Building like some real cool jumps. There's heaps of skate parks over there popping up. But anyway, so I was gonna go over there and then cut across the middle of Australia, go through Alice Springs, and then end up in Cairns for Crankworks.
Yeah.
And then the bus broke down at Mum and Dad's place. So I was packed, ready to leave.
Kind of the best and worst place for it to happen.
Yeah, ready. Same again. Like I was fully packed. What are you smoking at?
I was just people walking past.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Sorry, if anyone listening, we're in like a park in Palm Beach. Park, yeah, near, yeah. So
anyway.
There's people walking past, and you get distracted sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Van's broken down. I mean, the bus is broken down.
Yeah. So I was like, again, packed up, ready to go. Like I spent like a week or something at Mum and Dad's place hanging out. I was like, cool. I think I did some work, built some trails for someone, and then ready to go, fully packed to the brim, about to set sail by myself, like properly. Head gasket in the driveway, and I was like, "What is going on?" I was like, "This is not going to stop me." So, I, not really knowing much about engines over the course of like, I think it took me a month to like chase down parts and actually figure out what I was going to do with it and stuff, and then get it running again. Over a month, I like YouTube mechanicked my way with a bit of help from my brother and my neighbor and a friend, like Dad's friend, who's a mechanic.
Yeah.
We got the bus running, and I was like, cool. I've just like I spent like a bit of extra money on it, like whilst we had the head off. My dad's mate was like, well, you may as well just pull the oil pan off and like put new piston rings in it and like just do a full job of it.
Give it a birthday.
Yeah. So we did everything. It's like full engine rebuild pretty much, or it was a full engine rebuild for me. If you're a mechanic, you're probably like, that's only a top end or whatever. But anyway, I thought, gonna have no issues here. Let's go. Yeah. But by that point, I was like, well, I'm not going to go to WA and do all that. Yeah. One, I was sick of it being cold because the main idea of this trip was to be able to be wherever I wanted to be, but also get out of Tassie winter where it's cold and you can't ride. And go somewhere where it's warm and I can ride every day, which is how I ended up here on the Gold Coast.
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
100%.
Just endless summer, but without having to go overseas.
Yeah.
And
you preach to the choir.
Everyone should do endless summer.
Yeah.
Seasonal depression is a thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I knew about that in COVID, but I haven't done a winter besides obviously COVID when everyone kind of got stuck. That was like the first winter in like 8 or 9 years. And it was like...
That's lucky.
Yeah. Chase summer. It's good. Summer's good. Unless you go and like ski or snowboard or something if you're using the winter for a reason. But
yeah, that's where like Tassie is no good in winter because it's not cold enough.
No.
It needs to be like colder so that there's actual good snow. But
well, not so much colder, but more altitude would be more or less the thing.
Someone said that there's just not enough land mass for it to actually snow.
Really?
Like properly. Like it does snow, but it's something to do with the land mass. Because they've got the like elevation.
Do they? But like...
they got big mountains.
True.
But I'm not speaking facts, but from what I've heard is like because the island itself is not actually big enough.
True.
It's never going to get like proper snow.
Someone can fact check that.
And
throw it in the comments. That'd
Jamie,
be great.
can you fact check that? But yeah, I feel like it needs to be colder so you get actual snow, or it needs to just be summer.
It gets pretty cold down there. Like it's like minus.
Yeah, it gets cold as shit.
Like in Hobart, you get like minus to -4.
Yeah, it sucks.
Like that should be like.
And it's just wet and miserable.
I couldn't do a Tassie winter. Like a whole Tassie.
I've done 2.
Yeah, and then you finally got your ticket out of there. And
Well, sort of, yeah. Yeah, I think peak of like when I was going overseas racing, I did like 7 summers back to back, which was pretty cool.
Oh, it's good.
It's like 3 years in a row going to Europe, and you just like, it's the best.
Yeah.
Summer, and then the first winter I did back was in Medina.
Oh,
it was brutal.
Yeah, that's a big change.
Yeah, so I didn't want to do winter in Tassie again, and then I was like sick of it being cold in Melbourne because I was stuck there, and then I kind of thought about it. I was like, even if I do go west, it's going to be cold until I get to Perth, basically, like all the way along the south coast of Australia. I was like, I don't want to borrow it anymore.
Yeah.
So I just started going north, and then I kind of just intended to pin it to the Gold Coast where I knew it would be warm and I knew there's stuff to ride.
Yeah.
And then maybe drive to Cairns, but probably like I kind of had already thought I was just going to fly there. And then I got to Ballina, which is like
just below Byron Bay.
Yeah, out like probably 2 hours south of the Gold Coast, and started having some starting issues. And then on the highway, I sprung a water leak out. Like it was like a hose off the back of the head, which upon further investigation, I think was probably our fault.
Can't deny or confirm, but possibly.
Yeah, there's like
a YouTube mechanic might have just like...
Well, it wasn't like something that I missed tightening or whatever, but dumped all the water or coolant, and then because of that, my temp gauge didn't work because it had nothing to read off of.
Oh.
I think my temp gauge is potentially broken anyway because it just sits in the one spot all the time. Doesn't matter if it's freezing cold or what. It just sits in the middle, which I was like, oh, it's in the middle. That's where it's meant to be.
Red flag right there.
I don't know what I'm not a mechanic.
I just work here, man.
Not even. So and then I didn't find out that it was overheating obviously until I pulled up at the servo. I kind of was like, oh, it's getting a bit hot, and I was like, I need fuel anyway. So I pulled over at like the first servo I found and was like, oh, that bubbling sound is not good.
And this is when you're in the Gold Coast. Oh no, Ballina.
No, a bit north of Ballina.
Yeah.
I went into Ballina. I was like, I want to see the coast. Like I want to go for a swim or whatever, and then got back on the highway and then started having some issues. And then I couldn't find, like I let it cool down at servo, topped the water up. I couldn't find where it was coming from. So I was like, oh, I don't know. Just like, I just drove like a little bit, like filled all my water up on the bus, just drove a little bit, stopped, like limped it basically to the Gold Coast. Because I looked at it, it was only like, I don't know, I can't remember exactly how far it was, but it wasn't that far.
Yeah, we just get there.
And then I got to Pizzey Skate Park, and that was my first stop, pretty much, when I made it to the Goldie. And I was like, cool, now that I'm here, I'm in like a good spot. In the morning, I can like properly fix this water leak. And the whole time I kept checking the oil because I was like, I was stressing over doing another head gasket, but the oil was like fine the whole time. It was just losing water. In the morning, I like finally found where the water leak was. It was like right tucked away in the back of the engine bay, like on the back of the head. Fixed that and was like, yes, sweet, we're on. And then I think because it had gotten hot, as soon as it had correct pressure in the whole engine system again, then it just blew the head gasket. So like I literally drove it I was on my way to see Sam at Fist, which is not far from Pizzey. And I made it to the highway basically.
Yeah.
And had to go to the servo, and I like drove, I don't know, 2 kilometers, pulled into the servo, went to start it, just blew white smoke out the back, and I literally just like limped it from the Bowser into the first car park at the servo, and it was just like, well, fuck.
It's done.
What do I do now?
Is that where it is parked now? Or is that...
Nah.
You got it from there?
Yeah, so...
So how did you get it from there to where it lives now?
Yeah, so this is a whole another story.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't know what to do here. I'm in... Like, I haven't even spent any time on the Gold Coast. Like, I haven't seen anybody I know yet. Like, I haven't met any new... I've made no... Like, I just got here, basically. Yeah. So I looked up where Fist was, and I was like, oh, it's only like 3 Ks from there. So I just rode my BMX to see Sam, because I was like, that was the plan anyway. They knew I was coming. Yeah. I was like, maybe I'll see Sam and he'll be able to help me, basically. And I got there and
Friends.
yeah, I was like, I was literally like that. I was like, I just need to go see some people that I know right now.
I need a hug. I need a hug right now.
I just need to see
It's been a
some.
long few days.
Just need to see some friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I rode to Fist on my BMX, which 3Ks doesn't sound like far, but it seemed like a lot, like a long way. Got there, was hanging out, and Sam was like, "Where's your bus?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's like the other thing that I came here for." Like I was like, "Oh, it's broken down in Miami," and Sam was like, "Oh yeah, sweet. Like where?" And I told him exactly where it was, and he was like, "Dude, hang on a sec." And he called his mate Matt, from Mermaid Motors in Miami. If anyone in the Gold Coast needs any repairs done or servicing or whatever, you call Matt at Mermaid Motors and they'll sort you out. They're like, yeah, they're good dudes.
Yeah. Love a good shout out.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, that one's free. And like you walk in there and everyone that works there is all wearing like Dixon flannel and stuff. Like they're tight with Fist. Yeah.
Get it out.
So yeah, Sam was like, "Oh, my boy Matt, he'll sort you out." So he called Matt. Matt called me. I got a lift. I think Matt from Fist gave me a lift back to the bus, and then I rode over to see Matt because it was literally like across the road, pretty much. It was like the other side of the highway was where this mechanic shop was, which I was like, "Oh, sweet, we're sorted." Like so lucky that it broke down here.
Yeah.
Cute dog. So then I went over to see Matt and he was like, "Look, if it starts, just drive it over here."
Yeah.
So I went back and because it had cooled down so much, it did start straight away. Drove it straight across the road, like 1 minute drive. Pulled in, and when I pulled in, Matt was like, "Oh, it seems fine. Like, what are you stressing about?" And he like gave me some like coolant, like stop leak stuff, and he was like, "Run a few tanks of this through it, and you'll probably be fine." Then I was like, "Oh, well, if like you're the you know what you're talking about, like if that's what you reckon." And then I went to start it in his driveway, and it just nothing. And he was like, "Oh, right, shit." And then
You're gonna need more stop leak.
yeah. And I don't know, he could like diagnose it straight away. He was like, "Yeah, you've done a head gasket. Like you can hear it bubbling back through the cooling system, like as soon as you turn the key." Which basically means it had no pressure. And he was like, "Look, man, their yard is tiny. They don't have a big yard." And he was like, "We're flat out for like the next 3 weeks." He's like, "You just need this thing back on the road ASAP, right?" And I was like, "Yep." And he was like, "Look, they've got like a parking space where they store cars, like literally across their street." He was like, "We'll move some shit. We'll put it in there. It can sit there for like a few days or whatever." And he was like, "Leave it with me. I'll sort it out." And I was like, "Righto." So I left it with him for a couple of days and he called me.
Where were you staying at this point? Because this is your home. So that's like, where'd you go?
So after that broke down and I left it there, I just rented a van, like the cheapest van I could find off of Car Next Door. I think it's actually called Uber Rideshare now. Yeah. Just found it was like $40 a day for it wasn't a camper van, it was just a normal van. It was like a Kia Pregio or something, like just some like shitty old, the cheapest van I could find. Yeah. I just went to Kmart, bought an air mattress and got all the stuff out of my swag and was just living on an air mattress with my bikes and surfboards in the back of this van. And I remember putting a photo up of like, I was parked at the beach, mind you. It was a nice location.
Yeah, location was good.
Yeah, location was good, but it was like an air mattress in the back of the van. And I just captioned it something like new setup or something because like the bus had been broken down. And I had like multiple people be like, "Oh man, you live in the dream." And I was like, whose dream? This is not my dream.
No. I'm so free.
It's like,
I don't want to be so free right now.
Yeah, like if only you knew half of what's going on right now.
Behind it. Yeah. But that just shows you how like Instagram can just tell so many different stories. Like,
it's just a highlight reel.
Yeah, but even when it's not a highlight
Yeah.
either, it's still people perceive it as a highlight because
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, people just thought I'm like on this crazy trip and like just living so free, and I'm at the beach and it's sunny and I've got bikes in the back of the van. It's like,
to be fair, you are, but also
Yeah,
there's
that's
there's a lot of struggle attached to it.
yeah, I'd rather not be sleeping on an air mattress in the back of a rented van, when
it's
I have a
pretty hot.
house
Yeah,
that drives or doesn't drive. I'd just rather my house drove.
yeah.
But yeah, so I was like basically just bouncing around like rental vans, because like I'd rent it for a week, hoping that by the end of that week I'd have the bus sorted out, and then I'd get to the end of the week and it would be booked. So I'd have to like rent another van and then rent another van, and like I would, because you can't overlap rentals. Like you can't be renting 2 vans at a time.
Oh, because it's through the same
on the app,
Yeah.
because like through the same thing. So at first I was like, the first time I had to like swap vans, I was like, whoa, how am I going to do this? Like I'll just have to rent one and then like butt the times like straight up to one another, and then just like cop the late return fee.
Yeah.
And then I figured out that you could like book them as like separate things, and then after you've booked it, you could change the pickup time so that they overlapped.
About like an hour or so.
Yeah, so like I'll just overlap them by like 2 hours or something, and then just drive like one rental van to the other rental van and just like reverse it up, open the back doors, and just like slide all of my shit out of one and into the other one.
Do you meet the person that you're renting it off?
Nah.
They just leave keys in it and you just come
It's like on a lockbox on the door.
True.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool... It worked as a good setup for me, because I
Yeah.
didn't have to like have the awkward interaction of like, oh yeah, I'm just living in your van
Yeah.
for a week.
Not only are you living in it, you're moving from the other van.
Yeah. It's like, whose other rental van? Like, what are you doing?
Well, how did you? So obviously, because if you're moving it from one to the other, and then you went and dropped the other van off, and then came back, and then hopped in that van.
Yeah, so I'll just have to get 2 that were like not too
Close
far apart.
together. Oh,
Do the swap
man,
over, and
man.
then drive the other one, drop it back off where I picked it up from, and then just like Uber, or if it was close enough, I'd like ride my BMX a few Ks to the other one, and then live in that one for a bit, for like, 4 days or however long I could get it for, and then get another one and then swap that back. Meanwhile,
there's people looking at you like, oh man, you live in the dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Fuck off.
And just like costing me so much money.
Yeah,
like,
just unnecessarily.
Like I said earlier, like the whole bus thing was supposed to like save me money and be like less hassle. But all it's done, it's just been like the biggest money pit and the most hassle ever.
It's a lesson.
Yeah, don't buy an old bus.
No.
And like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Volkswagen Crafters are alright, but...
Yeah. Toyota Coaster's older than 2020. No good.
No, what's the cut off? 2010. I reckon
010's probably all good.
010. Double digits.
Well, I've like grown up with like the notion that like Toyotas are reliable. So I was like, cool, it's an old Toyota motor. Should be sweet.
We're good.
No good. Just bought a lemon, I think. But yeah, so the whole time that like this is going on, Matt from Mermaid Motors is like ringing around trying to find somebody else that will take on the bus, because like I said, he just was like, dude, even if I wanted to, we don't have space, and if we had space, like I just can't touch it for like 3-4 weeks. Like I'm booked.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, no worries, like appreciate you helping me. And apparently nobody else wanted to touch it either.
I can imagine. You don't even want to touch it now.
No, I don't even want to touch it now. Yeah, because after I'd just rebuilt it myself and then had this problem, I was just like, this is the last thing that I want to do. Like, I'll just pay someone else to do it and just have them just sort it out.
Yeah.
And he finally found someone. This was like a week before I was going to go to Cairns, which I was just going to fly to. So he got it towed to this other mechanic, which is called Above All Mechanical in Burleigh. Absolutely would not recommend.
No shout out.
Not even
no
to
shout
like
out.
Not even if I disliked you, I still wouldn't recommend that you took your vehicle there.
Okay.
And I hope the dude listens. His name's Luke. I hope that he listens to this, because he
does.
Absolutely fucked me around.
Yeah.
So he got the bus delivered on the Friday. That's the other thing. Matt towed it, like got it towed to this other dude and he just like flipped the bill for the tow truck.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, dude, you didn't have to do that. And he was like, oh, it's fine, whatever. Like, don't worry about it. I was like,
I want this thing out of my yard.
yeah, I was like, but that was like super nice of him.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Not only did he organize all this shit, he like,
he moved it, yeah.
So, and Matt was like, oh, you know, this other dude, Luke, he'll like give you a call when the bus gets there and like come up with a plan. Gets there on the Friday morning or whatever, didn't get a call. Monday goes by, didn't get a call. Tuesday goes by, didn't get a call. And I was like, oh, so, like, give him a few days, but whatever. And then, like, I think, actually, no, Monday went by, and then Tuesday, I think we flew to Cairns. And I was like, oh, surely, like, whilst I'm, like, it doesn't really matter at this point because I'm going to Cairns. Like, surely whilst I'm in Cairns, he'll call me and we'll sort it out. Get back from Cairns, still zero contact. So I, like, called him. I was like, hey, man, what's going on? And then I was like, I think I couldn't get onto him or whatever. And I didn't have a car sorted at this point. Rang Mum, and I was like, Mum, I got no money. I don't have a car. I was like, can't work without a car because I can't drive to work. Like, you can't get an Uber to Boomers, or you can, but it's like $80 or something. So Mum lent me some money, rented, like, honestly the cheapest car I could find. It was just like a wagon. Drove to Luke's mechanic, above all mechanical. Again, don't go there. And it was just like, hey man, like, I'm here for the bus, like, what's going on with it? And he was like, oh yep, sweet, like, we've got, every time I went there, I'm pretty sure, and that he hadn't touched it yet, he would point to something that was in the shop and be like, yeah, we just got to get that out, and then we got this truck, once that truck's out, your bus is in next. And the first 2 times I was like, oh yeah, sweet, like, whatever you reckon. And he's like, and then we'll like run all these tests, and he's like talking big game. He's like, we'll do this and that, and then I'll give you a quote, and then we'll see if you're happy to proceed. I was like, all right, sweet. 3-4 days go past, nothing. Call him again. I'm like, man, this is my actually, I think I just drove over there again. I was like, not even bothering with a phone call. I was like, dude, this is my house and it's my car. Like, I need it. Like, at least need a quote. Yeah. Like, tell me what I'm up for. And then he finally gets me a quote. He reckons he ran all these tests, which I'm still
skeptical.
I don't think that, like, because I was going back to the bus, like, I stayed in it a couple of nights at his yard. Yeah. I don't know if that's really allowed, but the gates were open.
Did he know?
Nah. Well, that was the other thing. He was like, one day I went there and he was like, yeah, mate, we'll get, like, old mate onto it 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, I think he said. And I was like, I'd stayed in it 2 nights and, like, left at like 7 and there was no one there yet. Yeah. I was like, you're not going to get your fucking dude onto it at 6 in the morning. Like, you're just lying to me. Finally quoted it, and he quoted me like $7,000 to do a head gasket. And because I'd just done a head gasket on it, I was like, I know how much parts are just for me to buy them over the counter. Yeah. Like, you've overcharged me for parts like crazy. Like, looking at his quote, he's like doubled up on stuff that he didn't need, and then just added like an astronomical amount of labor. It was like 45 hours worth of labor at like $110 an hour, whatever it was. And I was just like, dude, I can't, there's no way I can afford this. Like, this is way too expensive. And when I went in there, to like try and talk to him, see if we could maybe bring the price down or whatever, he's like, looked at me, he's like, oh, he thought he was trying to help me, but he was like, oh, what are you driving? And I just thought in my head, I was like, is this dude serious? Like, what do you mean, what am I driving? I was like, well, nothing at the moment. Like, that's my car. And he's like, oh, where are you staying? Like, where are you living? I was like, nowhere. Yeah. But that's my house too.
I've been sneaking into the yard.
Yeah, like.
Did you tell him that? No.
Nah, I haven't told him. Yeah.
Well, he's listening now, so he knows.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, I hope he's listening.
Luke, you suck.
Luke, you suck. And then I was like, well, like, I can't afford to do it. I was like, I'm just gonna have to do it myself again, which I was trying to avoid, but anyway,
this is what we got.
So I organised a tow truck to come and get it, and then the tow truck rocks up. Luke's not there. Oh, he lost my keys, or he just misplaced them, which was how I was like, you haven't actually done any work on it because you don't even know what my keys look like. Like, my keys are like hang on. Like they're pretty recognizable keys. Like it's not like
yeah, they're obvious.
Yeah, like yeah, he didn't know where my keys were, so I had the tow truck come, and I was like, "Hey man, can I just grab the keys?" Like the day before or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, they're in the bus," and I was like, "No, they're not." And he was like, "Yeah, the bloke that did the test said he left them on the seat," and I was like, "Definitely didn't leave them on the seat." And he was trying to blame me. He was like, "Oh, I've noticed you've like been in and out of it a couple of times. Like, you sure you didn't move them?" I was like, "Nah, dude, they're not there." And then he wasn't there the day that the tow truck came. Still didn't have my keys, but I was like, I'll just get it out of there and sort out the keys later. It doesn't run anyway.
Yeah.
And I knew how to break into it. Yeah. There's like one door that doesn't. I'm not going to tell everyone how to break in. Yeah. Well, maybe someone could steal it.
Yeah. Oh, someone could either buy it, steal it, or burn it. One of the three.
Or live in it somewhere.
All right, so we're almost up to where it's living now.
Yeah. This has been a long-winded story.
This has been long, but we're almost...
I told you that it was going to be long.
Yeah, no, we need to know all the parts, because it's been an adventure.
Oh, dude, I'm living the dream.
Yeah.
Living the dream. Yeah, we're nearly done. So I got... People are just gonna skip through this. I got it towed. Well, I was trying to get it towed, and the lady, like his office lady, was like, "You need to pay the invoice before it can leave the yard." And I was like, "Invoice for what?" Like, he gave me a quote, and I said it's too expensive, and now I'm getting my bus towed because I can't afford to pay, like, what you want to charge. And she's like, no, we've done like 4 hours work on it to do all the tests. She was like, you need to pay us for that. And I was like, I told you what was wrong with it. The other mechanic told you what was wrong with it. Like, it doesn't take you 4 hours to figure out that it's got a blown head gasket.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, that's what we've done. Like, it can't leave the yard until you paid the invoice. And I was like, what do you mean? Like,
how much was the invoice?
$440,
yeah.
$110 an hour for 4 hours of work that they like didn't do because they didn't know where the keys were. And I was just like, well, I said to the lady, I was like, all right, well, I'll like, how about this? Like, you give me my keys and then I'll pay the invoice. And she was like, oh, I don't know where the keys are. I was like, well, call Luke, find out where the keys are. You give me my keys and then I'll pay the invoice. And she was like, oh, can't get onto Luke because he like when he's not there, he has his phone diverted to the office or something. And I was like, well, all right, the tow truck's already, like, it was already on the tow truck at this point. I was like, well, when's Luke going to be back? And she was like, he'll be back in the morning. I was like, sweet, well, like, I'm going to take the bus and then I'll come back in the morning. Yeah. You give me my keys and then I'll pay the invoice. And in my head, I was like, once I got my keys, I'm out of there. I'm not paying for work. Like, I'm not paying for you to quote the
bus
thing.
is gone now anyway.
Yeah, like, and I've already got the bus. Anyway, the tow truck driver was like, dude, I can't. Like, he's like, I can't take it until, like, they've said that it's okay to go.
Oh, so like, they were not into it. They were not.
Nah, the tow truck driver was like, nah. And then I told him, I was like, this is what's going on. Like, they're trying to charge me shit they haven't done. Like, blah, blah, blah. And he was like on my side, but he was like, dude, if I tow this thing right now, like, I'll have the cops chasing me. Like, I don't want to borrow that. And I was like, fair enough. Like,
you see it, but you're also like,
yeah. He could understand, but like, and because I'd just come back from Cairns, I was like, I can't afford $400 for nothing right now. So I like had to call Dad, Bank of Dad. I was like, Dad, this is what's going on. And Dad was just like on the other end of the phone, just like, tell him to get fucked. Like, he was not having it. And I was like, I literally can't. Like, I'm stuck. And he was like, well, why don't you just go down to the cop shop and tell him that, like, Dad was like fully not into it. And then I kind of waited around for a bit, and I said to I tried to convince the tow truck driver again. I was like, how about I give you like an extra $200 or something? I was like, let's just go. And he was like, nah, man, I can't do it. So I ended up having to hand over $400 for like nothing, as well as pay for the tow truck, which is fine. Got it towed to Pizzy Skate Park, where I'd stayed a few times before, and I was like, there's a nice big area. There's like shops across the road. I can ride to the beach. There's a skate park. I can shower at the aquatic center. Like it's a good, relatively good location. Got it towed there, and it's been there ever since.
And that's where I met you.
Yeah,
that's where I found you.
Yep,
mate. That is that's an that's an adventure right there.
Yeah, and then I went back to get my keys. The final saga.
Yeah.
The next day, and old mate was like, "Nah, mate, they have to be in the bus." I was like, "Then I'm telling you, they're not in the bus." He was like, "Where's it parked?" Like, I'll just send the bloke that was doing the work over there, and like, get him to look through the bus and find. I was like, "I'm not having your dude going just like, would you just let someone rummage through your bedroom?"
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like, this is my house. Like, not happening.
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm telling you, they're not there." And then he's like walking around scratching his head, like looking stressed. And he comes out and he's like, "Right, here's a number for this bloke. He's like a key cutter." He's like, "Get him to come over and like cut you a new key, and then just like send me the invoice and I'll pay."
But don't you need the original key to cut it?
I don't know.
That's what I think. You need the key. You can't just cut a key from like a lock. I don't think. I don't know.
He seemed to think he'd done it before. and I straight up looked at him and I was like, "What about the other keys?" And he's like, "What other keys?" I was like, "Well, there's a key for the bus. There's a different key for the fold-out table. There's a different key for the hatch at the back that has a generator in it. I was like, there's a different key for the back door. The latch on the back door is broken, so I've put 2 locks on there. There's different keys for those." I was like, listed off all these different keys, and then I was like, and I also have my motorbike key. I have my bike lock key, like all these keys. I was like, it's a big bundle of keys. There's like 10 keys on it, and like a red carabiner and a chain.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I thought we were just looking for 1 key," which was again when I was like, this dude hasn't done shit.
Yeah.
Like, he's just been lying to me this whole time. I've just given you $400 for nothing. And then he goes into his office and comes out and he's like, "Are these it?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so they were just there the whole time.
Luke sucks.
Yeah.
Luke sucks.
Luke sucks.
Luke sucks.
Don't take your vehicles to Above All Mechanical. They do not go.
We can't stop saying the name. They're just saying the names like... Yeah, we'll stop saying it.
They don't go Above All.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah. Only thing they do is go Above All on fucking you around.
How can we make this harder for you? And that's where I found you, parked in this car park. You should have come here. You should have come to Palm Beach, mate. This is a bit nicer.
Well, the other
not
good
as much
thing was that
facilities.
like Pizzy was like very close to, like, because the mechanic was in Burleigh.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's
Getting it down here probably would have cost me a bit.
Yeah, so you got it towed to that car park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it towed to the car park, and then
Because I didn't realize that it had been like, I thought it was fine. Like, I didn't know that it had happened. Because you haven't really promoted it very much, have you?
nah, not until today where I just cracked the shits and was like, "Someone take this away from me."
Yeah. I remember like talking to you about it and then seeing like bus for sale. I was like,
Today I actually went and got some spray and mark from Bunnings while I was there buying like a thread pulling kit to get the bolt that I snapped in the block out, which I still didn't get out. It gets better.
For anyone wondering, it's still in there.
Yeah.
That was the straw.
And yeah, that was the straw that made me just be like, I want to sell this thing.
It's got to go. I'm just going to check
Oh yeah.
something. Oh.
Is it still going?
Yeah, but I just want to, because it's going to be, I can't, this is really annoying because I can't turn it around. I think it's going to be pretty.
Oh, here's someone a bit interested in it already.
What do you mean?
Oh, I have it up for sale on Facebook and Gumtree.
Oh, and someone's asking about it.
Yeah, I've had a few
Someone's
people.
already heard the podcast, man.
Yeah.
I'm live streaming the podcast.
Got it, yeah. Yeah, so I bought a torque wrench because I was like, I'm going to need to torque, like at least I'm going to need to torque the head bolts. And then I was like, well, I may as well use a torque wrench on everything and like do it as properly as I can manage. And there's like, when you put the head on, there's like all the head bolts. And then at the front, like just in front of the timing gear, there's like this little 12mm bolt. I don't really know what it is actually there for. It like sits in a puddle of oil. Me and Dad, when we took the head off the first time, were like, why is it like, we couldn't figure out why we couldn't pull the head off, and then found this like little bolt that was submerged in oil. So I was like, all right, Googled the torque settings for that, set my torque wrench, I'd already tightened it by hand, started tightening. I was like, this seems like excessively tight for this small bolt.
Mm.
Like double checked all the settings were right. Found like a different website that said the same torque setting. It was only like 13 Newton meters or something. Tightening it, just snapped it right off. Snapped off flush with the block. So then I had to pull the head back off. And then I was like, well, now what?
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
We need to talk about something happier.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like that's the bus kind of sorted.
that's the bus, yeah. Okay.
But
when it goes, when you sell it or someone steals it or any of these things,
there's been good things that have come out of it.
I'm sure that trip when everything was working. I've got a similar thing. Like me and my girlfriend were in Italy. We drove a van from Italy to. They made a deal with us, these New Zealand guys. If we drove from Italy to Scotland, that they would pay for tolls and the boat and everything.
Yep.
And literally the day after we got it, they had like a wire fuse or something. They were melted, and then it like shorted out. So it just stopped working. And then it just became the biggest fuck around.
Biggest hassle.
And it was like at the start, it was like, this is fun. This is fun. All good. We got a mattress. We got it kitted out. We're like, this would be cool to travel around in.
Yeah.
As soon as your van or bus or anything just stops working and you have no idea, and you're in a
such a
foreign
hassle.
country where people don't help you and they just hang up the phone when you speak English, shit becomes hard real quick.
Yeah, that would be worse than the scenario.
At least you got like we were in Calais, which is like the little town before you go to Dover.
Calais is a wild town.
It's
when you're driving to the ferry and there's just like those tent cities that are all behind like 10-foot fences.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
It was a bit, it was, I didn't really like it there, to be honest. I was like, I want to get out.
Yeah.
And we booked a ferry, and then the car just shit itself in a car park, similar to what you got going on. And we were trying to call people, and just no one wanted to help us.
Yeah.
And Belle can speak a little bit of French, and she was trying. So it wasn't even like she was answering like, hello, do you speak English?
Yeah.
She was like answering in French.
Yeah.
And then trying to speak best she could, and people were still like hanging up.
Yeah, we don't borrow it, yeah.
And then we didn't even realize, but like she talked to a guy, and he like kind of hung up, but then we're like, and then we were just like, what do we do? And then he showed up. So he found us somehow, randomly.
right.
Like we were just like there, literally like, what are we gonna do? And then this guy rocks up, and he's like, hello, like, are you the guys that called?
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah. So he like jump started us.
Yeah.
And we drove to another like battery place, and we got our own jump starter thing.
Yeah.
So it's like a battery pack. And we're like, at least we've got this, we can jump start it and at least just try and keep going.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is like the same as you on the Spirit of Tasmania, because we had the ferry to Dover. So we like got on the ferry, and we're like, this thing's not going to start when we go to get off. But we're like, we got a jumper pack. At least we can kind of like maybe use that to get it going. And then it started perfectly. And we're like, oh, it's fixed.
Sweet.
And then that happened for like twice, and then it didn't start. So we jumped it. And then eventually the jumper pack went flat. So then we didn't have that. We were scared to turn it off. And then it was funny, man, because we ended up at Brendan Fairclaw's house. Yeah. Well, it actually broke down, and we met him in a cafe, him and his wife.
Oh, crazy.
And we're randomly bumped into him. Like we like pulled up, we knew we were going to see him eventually, but we pulled up in a town near his. Yeah. And went out for coffee, and we're just sitting there having a coffee, and then him and his wife walk in, and we're like, what the hell? Like, that's random.
Insane.
And then we went to go back to his place, and the van just like fully just gave up. Yeah. So he called his mechanic, who came and jump started it. And then we went to his house, and we just like hanging out with his house, with his little girl and stuff. Yeah. And then we went to leave, and it just shit the bed, and we couldn't jump start it, and then we couldn't get a car in because his like driveway is quite tight. Yeah. And I had this moment of like, I thought back to when I like used to look up to Brendan as a rider, and I was like, if you could fast forward to like me in this heap of shit van stuck in his driveway, trying to jump start it,
told 12-year-old kid, 12-year-old Dean that was going to happen.
That was it was like this, like, you know when you picture your future, and if someone was in it, that's not the future that I would have pictured. Him trying to tow this van out of his driveway with his Land Rover. Yeah. And it was just like, oh man,
what a nightmare.
But I know the feeling, so we just ended up dropping off the mechanics. Yeah. And we're like, fix this. I don't want to.
It's not my. Yeah.
We were.
I wish I could drop it off at a mechanic and just say fix this. Oh. I tried that. Oh. Luke didn't help me. Yeah.
But like, know the feeling, and it's shitty, but it's just when you're in that situation of like just nothing seems to go right.
No, but there's been good things that have come out of it. I think because I broke down in Melbourne initially, that like changed the whole course of my trip, obviously. And that meant that like I had started talking to Miles from Lusty when I was at Pineapple Express. I think it was this year. it must have been this year when we were at Pineapple, like only like a month or two earlier.
Mm.
Started talking to him because I knew things were coming to an end with Fox. And I rode, like, Johnny was like my first sponsor pretty much. When I got put on Yarra Valley Cycles team when I was like 12, we had Lusty as a sponsor. And when I left that team, like, ever since, so it's like for the last 6 years, the whole time I've been with Canyon, every year me and Johnny have like
Shout out Johnny McLean.
Yeah,
absolutely,
legend.
absolutely
Legend.
Shout out.
Every year me and Johnny have made contact and been like, oh, like, let's do something. But there's always been something, like someone that I didn't want to let go that was gonna overlap or vice versa or what. No, but like whatever, never lined up. Then I was talking to Miles initially about trying to run Fast House gear, and he was like, oh, we don't do Fast House anymore. And I was like, oh, cool, whatever. Just sort of left that. And then because of all that trip change, I was like, oh, sweet, on my way through Newcastle, like, I know they've got a new warehouse and stuff, like, I'll just stop in and just say hi to Miles and Johnny and, like, see the warehouse. And, like, I'd sort of been talking to Miles a little bit about a deal. Stopped in, and I pretty much got in there, and Johnny and Miles were just like, we're going out, like, taking you out for lunch, like, just walked down to this cafe, sat down. Johnny was like, let's go, let's do something. And then get back, and he, like, sits me in his conference room, and he's just like, all right, let's go, what are we doing? And we just, like, sorted out, like, a sick deal for this year. Yeah. Which, all my stuff was supposed to arrive today, but I think it'll arrive tomorrow morning now for the weekend. So, like, that was cool. That's put me in a position next year where I can go overseas and I can go racing and have, like, support from all the sickest brands. So it's
who are the brands that they're supporting you with?
It's full house of Lusty, so it's Troy Lee, Maxis, Datey, ODI, Crank Brothers, and Elbeck.
Sick.
Yeah. And already, like, already Johnny's put me in front of all those brands on a global scale, which is insane. So it's like, so that was, like, one really, really good thing that's come out of the bus breaking down initially. Yeah. Because
pointing you in this direction.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone over there, and I wouldn't have gone to Pineapple Express and started that conversation to begin with. And I've met a lot of people and had some, like...
Man, this is the thing, though. It's like everything does happen for a reason, and it's like, it's so funny how we look at these struggles as something that is, oh no, this is the worst thing that could have happened. Yeah. But, like, tomorrow the best thing in your life could happen, and that all stems from that bus breaking down. And that's always the thing. It's like you don't know if something's good or bad till it plays out.
Yeah, there's always a silver lining.
Yeah, and it plays out when you die. Like, everyone, like, that's the thing. Everyone's like, it's not over just because it's like a good thing started happening or a bad thing started happening. I was like, it just keeps playing out. Like, your 100%. Life until you die is always playing out. So it's like,
and even then it might keep playing out. Who knows?
Yeah, you don't know. That's the thing. You don't know. But people get so caught up. I look back at, like, some of the worst stuff that's ever happened to me, and then look years after that and go, oh, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, at the time you don't think that, but in the future you always, like, all the struggle that you go through always seems to be like a building block to something better.
There's always something. It's like what we were saying the other night, like breaking my ankle a couple of years ago was, like, absolutely for my, well, not professional yet, but for my riding career, that was absolutely the best thing that could have possibly happened. Like, that completely turned my life on its head. Like, I started looking after my body way better, started looking after my mind way better. Like, I'm a heaps healthier, happier person since then, just because I had to sit with myself for, like, however long, and I just wanted to ride. I'd, like, just lit the fire enough for riding again when I broke my ankle, because I kind of was not enjoying it that much beforehand, but I just lit the fire enough that I was like, how do I heal this thing as quick as possible, because I want to get back on my bike. And, like, built so many good habits, and, like, that's absolutely changed everything. Like, from that day on, or that few months on, like, learnt so much about how to look after myself.
Dude, I think adversity can either, like, destroy you or, like, make you stronger than you ever thought you could be. But it's what you do with it. And I think, like, a perfect example is when you see people go to jail. Yeah. And you see people come out of that and they're, like, found, and they're, like, they've got this new perspective on life, and they're so happier and healthier and better. And some people come out and they're obviously way worse. So it's like, that's obviously
as an extreme
pretty
case.
Black and white case of it. But with everything that happens, like a broken ankle, you could go the opposite way and go, I just want to sit on the couch and
do nothing,
eat food and just go backwards, or you could do what you've done.
Yeah, I actually, like, I think after sitting on the couch for 6 months, I was like the strongest I'd ever been.
Yeah.
Because I'd been going to see like a PT twice a week because I was like, well, what else do I do? I'd been like eating healthier than I ever had. Like, it was crazy. I came out of having a broken ankle like a new person. It was cool as.
Yeah, when you focus on your health and actually see the benefit. And it would have helped the ankle heal quicker as well. Like, everything would have been better.
Well, the main thing was like I'd broken bones before and I knew that I knew kind of how to heal a bone, but I'd never broken a ligament. And I broke the ligaments in my ankle, like completely destroyed the main one that holds your tib and fib together.
That's time consuming right there.
Yeah, and I was like, already in the hospital bed, I was like researching like how do you heal a ligament quickly? Like what do you need to eat? Like what do you need to put in your body? And yeah, just knuckled down and
see. That's like the catalyst though for like researching that and then finding out that like that wouldn't only heal, like something that's going to help heal a ligament is also going to help you be a better person in general, healthy, like be an athlete, it'll all flow on to like help your life flow better anyway. Yeah,
like didn't drink for like 6 months or whatever it was. Like, it was crazy. It was good, real good for me. And
but it all came from something that you could perceive as in the moment of it happening as being terrible.
Yeah, I think it was weird with that injury. Like there was not a moment, probably.
Surely the moment when you've realized you've like done it, you'll be like, oh, this kind of sucks. Like there would have been a moment where it would have.
I reckon there was like 24 hours where I was like, this sucks. And that was until I'd come out of surgery, basically, because I did it in Adelaide and I did it in the afternoon on like a Friday or something. And I thought I just rolled my ankle. I was like, because I could still stand on it because your fib isn't a weight-bearing bone. Your tib takes all the weight, so I could still stand on it with no pain. I just couldn't walk, and I was like, this is weird. Went home and then went to bed and woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning or something in like the most pain ever because it had swelled up.
Yeah.
And I woke Ben up, my mate who I was like working and living with over there, and it's like, dude, you need to take me to hospital now. Like, this is ridiculous. So he took me to hospital and they like operated on me at 12 o'clock that same day.
Really?
Yeah, just like went in, got surgery straight away. And then while I was laying there after surgery was when I was like, all right, cool. How do I heal this shit? Like I was just like straight into it.
And then that started or?
Yeah, which was cool.
No, that's cool. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. But other injuries, you just like sit around for a few days and then it's no good for you.
Nah, you can fall into it. It's a slippery slope and you can fall into a pretty bad habits. Like I've got injuries where I've not dealt with them properly and just you get sad, man. Like you can get depressed from an injury pretty easily. Like it's like all this work goes into something that then suddenly gets taken away.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
Then you're almost like, why? What's the point?
Yeah, like, that like I said, that one was like the best one ever.
Yeah, you just came out of it like, oh, this is fine. We're gonna fix it. And
then that was when, like I sat on the couch. I got the all clear to ride, like 3 or 4 days before Crankworks Rotorua. And I could see that I was going to be on track, so I'd already booked flights and entered. Literally like rode, I think 1 day, flew to New Zealand, raced Crankworks. Didn't really do anything spectacular, but it was like dual slalom. I remember I come up against Bernard Kerr in like the round of 16 or whatever. So already like qualifying for the round of 16, I was like pumped. I was like, cool, this is sweet. I haven't ridden for 4 or 5 months or whatever it was. And he just got me out the gate on both lanes. Obviously because he was strong and my legs weren't strong. But the whole rest of the way down the track, I could kind of like stick with him better than I thought. And that just gave me like this massive confidence boost that I could still ride. I just needed to get the strength in my legs back. And then I tried to organise a downhill bike, which I couldn't, for national champs. So then Daryl was like, oh, we got a Torque you can ride if you want. I was like, yeah, sweet. Which is like their I think it's 170mm trail bike or free ride bike kind of thing.
Yeah.
I set that up, raced national champs with zero expectations. But like I said to the other day, it was like the first time I'd ever raced and been so strong in my upper body that I could just hold on and still be like attacking at the bottom of Bright.
And on a trail bike or like a free ride bike, whatever, so like that's a hard thing to do there. Like that's hard to hang on and attack on it like a proper downhill bike, let alone
which I
it
think
kind of shows how like strong you were obviously gotten from the rehab you were doing and the
Yeah, it was
the
crazy.
fitness you were doing.
Yeah, and because I just come off this like big confidence boost the week before of like not getting any results, but just knowing that I was riding
Yeah,
good.
but that's the thing. You don't always need results to build confidence. Like
Nah.
everyone has this idea that it's like if you're winning, you've got confidence, or if you're
Yeah.
like here, you've got confidence. Like yes, winning does build confidence, but also it's like if you're achieving your own goals. And
Yeah.
when you're coming back from an injury, man, it's like you're not gonna win straight away.
No, I
But if
wasn't
you-
expecting to get any results anyway.
Mm.
I just wanted like a few indicators for myself that I felt I was riding good, basically. And then I think because I was on the trail bike, I spent so much extra time like dialing my lines in, making sure my suspension was set up as good as possible. Like thanks to my mate Taryn and also to Lockie, like spin that up, Lockie McKillop.
Mr. Yabby.
Yeah, they helped me with my suspension heaps, and because I was like, if my suspension's not as good as it can be, and my lines aren't as dialed as they can be, and my braking points aren't all like perfect, I'm gonna die.
But you think about that as well. Like just because you're on a trail bike, that shouldn't be that determining factor. Like if you're on a downhill bike,
You should
all
be
that should
thinking about the
matter.
same
Yeah,
stuff as well, yeah.
exactly.
But
But
that
it was emphasized for you.
yeah, it was well. It's just made me like focus on the stuff that I knew I should be focusing on anyway. Because I was like, this is like gonna suck if I'm not on point, kind of thing. And then got fifth, and then that sparked my racing fire again because I'd been over it, and then here we are.
It's crazy how like that's like the 1% everywhere can then like make you realize how much you actually want to do something. Because I had a thing this year as well where I haven't been doing that well, and I had like this thought because I hadn't been enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I just not enjoying it because I'm not doing well?
Yeah.
But then it's also like I'm not motivated to do as well as I should. So it's like this kind of cycle that you you go around this loop of like I'm not doing well, so I'm not enjoying it, and I'm not enjoying. I'm not trying more to then do better. You get stuck in this cycle, which is shit.
I think for me, it's like it comes from not enjoying it first. If I'm not enjoying it, then I'm not going to do well, and then it's probably going to snowball to me not enjoying it because I didn't do well. But it starts from just not enjoying it. Because it's like I said to you,
how do you enjoy it then?
Ride everything.
Like every bike.
Everything. Ride everything.
But that's so like, because if I ride everything, I get over it.
See, I'm the opposite. If I ride everything, like if I keep riding my BMX, like my racing has gotten like substantially better since I've been riding BMX more. Because it just keeps it fun.
Yeah.
But
everyone's different. Everyone's so different.
Yeah. For me, like ride everything, only race tracks that are good. Because I hate spending money, especially my own money, to go to race a track that sucks. There's nothing worse than being at a track where you like
preaching the choir. Race
weekend, you don't really get much riding in to begin with, because it's a race. You either can't because the shuttles suck, or B, you don't want to because you don't need to / don't want to fatigue yourself. So you don't really ride much at a race weekend. And then if the runs you do, you're on track and you're like, this track sucks. It's like, what? That's just a recipe for a bad weekend.
Sometimes you can't pick that though, when most of the tracks we race
are not that good.
Aren't great.
That's why I don't race much.
But you're happy.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So, and when I do race, these like since I got fifth on a trail bike at Bright, then we went to Medina. That track was sick. Got fourth. Went to Medina again. Track was even better the second year, in my opinion. Got third. So, at this rate, Threadbar I should get second, and then the year after that I should win.
Yeah, true.
If I keep going on this trajectory.
Yeah, I see that.
I was aiming for higher this year, and I just got put back to third.
But that's what you got to do, man. You got to aim for like the top, or aim for the top or the best that you can do. Like I think it's like when you have that mindset. Like I've gone to World Cups, and it's been rare. Like there hasn't been many, but when you go to one and you're like, I'm here to win.
Yeah.
And like you convince yourself, and like for me anyway, I can't bullshit myself in saying I'm gonna go to World Cup and like I'm gonna win. Like you can't just go like this year. I was not going to World Cups like I'm gonna win. I was like I want to top 10 possibly, but top 20 would be happy. But when you can go in that mindset of like,
but I also think like for me, like when I got fourth last year, I wasn't there to win. I was there to do a run that I knew I could do. And if I did, like, I knew within myself that if I put down the run that I was going to be happy with, that was like 100, like my 100%, that'd probably put me in a good position on paper. But I was like, even if I got 10th, if I was super happy with my run, I'd be like, sweet. But this year was different.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm here to fucking win. And I know that if I do the run that I want to do, I'm going to win. Yeah. Basically, was my mindset. Yeah. It didn't quite play out like that. But I also I wasn't happy with my run. Yeah. Which was it was like a hard thing to swallow because like I got a medal. Yeah. Which is great. But I wasn't happy with my run.
It's a weird
thing, I was like,
though, isn't it?
I was like, my brain was like in this strange like complex of like, am I happy? Am I sad? Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, it is tricky though because it's like it's you versus you, and if you're not happy with how you went up against yourself, you're not like that's what I've had the same thing where I've done really well, even when I've won a race, man. But I didn't like not that I gave up, but I didn't give it everything I could have. Like I knew there was more in the tank, and I didn't do it, and I still won. But it was like well, I had more. It's like, and that's the thing. It's like your only real competitor's yourself. Yeah. And if you're not giving 100%, you're letting yourself down, and that to me is like not a win. Even if on paper you did win. So it's like
it was like it was sort of strange because I was like not happy with I wasn't happy with how I rode. I didn't really care what the result was because I only at this point I pretty much race once a year at national champs, or have done for the last few years. So like it means really nothing. Yeah. Like I was hoping that I could go to Worlds, but because I wasn't going to go race overseas, I was like, I don't know if that's going to happen. So whether I got 10th or whether I got 30th or whether I got first, I suppose first probably is different because it means I got to go to Worlds. But like basically from second to last place to me was like
it's all
the same.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just wanted to do a run I was happy with. And like having people be like, oh man, like good job, like you're flying, whatever. I was like, thanks.
It's a weird thing though, because like even just getting a medal at a national championships is like a big achievement. But then it's funny how it's like if it doesn't live up to the expectations you put on in your head. Yeah. And I think that comes back to before how we were talking about like you went into that race at Bright on the trail bike, no expectation.
No, I just wanted to do the best run I could.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny how that changes when you start to do well. And then you start to expect yourself and you have this expectation like, I want to do this well.
But I think that was why I left champs this year with like the idea that I didn't do good, was because my definition of doing good is no longer results based. I don't care what result I get.
Yeah, but it was against just yeah.
So like it's still the same as when I got 5th on a trail bike, except 5th on a trail bike, I was more happy with that 5th place than I was with my 3rd place, because that 5th place run was like honestly one of the best race runs of my life. Yeah, like everything I wanted to do, I did like to perfect. It was sick. Yeah. Whereas my run this year, on paper the result was better. Yeah, but I knew that I missed a bunch of marks.
Yeah, it comes back to you versus you.
You versus you. Yeah.
But if you can still put less expectation on you and just like,
just have fun. Yeah.
Have fun. But it is tricky. I think to be a good racer, it's like you're always battling with that thing about
once a racer, always a racer.
Yeah, it's always like a battle between like.
I went bowling last night and I could not be competitive.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
It's everything you do. You're like, I want to do the best.
But I think that's like comes back to the whole thing, like how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you like cut corners places or don't like strive to be the best at something, and obviously there's points you can like let something go, but if you're in a competition setting, it's like, all right, I'm going to give my 100%.
Yeah, but then I think it's like, I don't know, there's strange things where, like I was saying to you the other night, like my last year as a junior on paper was great. Like it was awesome, but I hated that entire year. Yeah, I was like winning back-to-back races and being like, oh shit, we have to go to another race this weekend. Yeah, I just didn't want to be there.
Why do you think that was?
I just burnt out because that was where I figured out, well, a couple of years later, I figured out that I have to ride everything to keep it fun. Because I used to ride everything. When I started racing, I rode everything. And as a junior, like I suppose did pretty good pretty quick, and I was riding BMX, I was riding moto, I was riding everything. They got to like under 17s or whatever. I was like, cool, all right, I'm going to start training properly. Like my trail bike is for training. Like I go pedaling on that to get fitness. And then I do like time downhill runs during like on the weekends or whatever. Didn't touch my BMX. I was like, don't have time for that. Pretty much just rode mountain bikes flat out, 100% focus, and just burnt myself out was like the gist of it. By the time I got to that point, I was like, cool, I've put in all this work and I am as good as I wanted to be, but I'm over it.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it.
It's crazy how it's like that thing where the thing that will make you achieve the goal you want also pushes you away from it.
Yeah, if you do it wrong though.
If you do, that's the thing, if you can balance it.
Yeah, whereas now I've got like, I reckon I could race. Well, it still comes back to like, I wouldn't want to race shit tracks. But
Well, that's the thing, it's your balance, but at the same time, it's like if you want to be a professional racer, like you're going to have to race shit tracks. But it's like the balance of like what.
That's why I'm not going to be a professional racer.
Well, this is what
Yeah,
I want to lead back to
Yeah,
as well. But the whole thing is like you've kind of like tried to set this because you don't have to be a racer now. Like it's so easy to not be like it used to be like you're a racer or you're not. Like it's just we can have
if you want to earn money, go racing. Yeah, basically.
But now it's like you can earn more money doing vlogs, videos.
Yeah,
like you've obviously like you've kind of I guess, and we'll kind of like go back to the whole Notion thing you mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
and your kind of path you want to go down now because you're not really like kind of a free rider, kind of a downhiller, kind of a like you kind of do a bit of everything. What would you call? What's the definition of what you are?
I'm a bike rider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Easy.
So, but you like have found
a trail builder.
Yeah. But you found this way to like combine those two things, and kind of set your own path instead of like just doing something that you weren't obviously enjoying. Yeah. And you can still have sponsors, still make money, still travel, live happily, and live this life you want to live.
Yeah.
And that's kind of come back now because obviously the biggest project you've done recently was Notion.
Yeah.
And like how did that all come about and what was the plan with that and how did that go how you thought it was going to go?
Absolutely didn't go how I thought it was going to go, for a lot of different reasons, but how that came about was I wasn't going to go overseas. I wanted to ride big jumps. We don't have big jumps. I thought that I could build big jumps. I was like, how do I do this? I was like, I may as well make a video project out of it. I wanted to do a project anyway. Daryl was going to help, like from Canyon. He was going to help me with some costs for going to Crankworks Rotorua last year during COVID. He was going to flip the bill for some of the quarantine costs. And then last minute, my flights all got cancelled and I couldn't go anymore. So I just called Daryl. I was like, well, like if that money's there, can I use it for a video project kind of thing? And he was like, yep, sweet, no worries. Like put it all in writing. Let me know what you want to do and we'll talk about it. So put together a proposal, did a full budget, like put this massive document together of like what I wanted to do, how it was going to go, all the deliverables that Canyon would get, what everything was going to roughly cost, I suppose. Sent that off. Daryl was like, yeah, sweet, no worries. Like, paid his invoice. And then I was like, well, I still need, like, more. So I went to Fox because we'd spoken about doing video projects. We kind of, like, bounced around a few ideas with them for a while. And then it was Christmas, so that slowed things up. And then it was, like, we were talking, trying to line it up with a few different product drops. And then it was National Champs. And then finally it got the green light, got all the money together. Rowan Saunders, who's like the property owner of where we did it, and he also owns the machines, and he also is just like the biggest legend ever. He let us do it at his place. And basically after National Champs, just sat in a digger for 15 days straight and
just made it happen,
yeah. But yeah, there's like a bunch of people thought that, you know, Canyon come up with this idea or Fox come up with this idea and we're like, oh, do you want to do this? But it's like, it's not like, I don't know, kind of like make it. If you want to do something, you got to make it happen.
Yeah, you've got to push forward the
Yeah,
ideas. Like they'll
yeah.
get behind it, but normally it's like the athlete
Yeah.
that would push forward. Like, hey, I want to do this. That's what
Yeah.
I've always found. If you go
I
to
think
a
that's just
company,
how it is. Yeah.
yeah, if you go to a company with an idea and a plan and
Yep.
like a budget and all that, you've
Yep.
got to put it forward, and then they go okay or no. It's
Yeah.
like,
And then, but since then, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, so I won't give too many details. But
Yeah.
since that project, now like Canyon have come to me and been like, we have this bike launch that we want to do. Here's the budget. Here's what we're thinking. Like, balls in your court kind of thing.
Yeah,
which is like epic. I feel so lucky to be in that position, but you have to make something happen to have something to show, to be like, this is what I can do.
Yeah.
Before that happens.
Have you got an idea of how you want to do it? Like,
This-
how do you want to, like, yeah, how like you want to do the next project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they gave me like a brief of what they
Oh, so they've already got a
of
thing
what
in
they
mind.
want.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But I can still take that and sort of run with it. Like, they've left me up to, you know, finding a film or finding a location. We're going to get 2 other riders on for it. So,
So why didn't Ocean turn out the way you thought it was going to turn out?
off the record, I'm not getting into that.
You tempted me. You're
yeah, I know. Yeah. I already told you, haven't I?
No, I don't know anything about it. I actually don't. You haven't told me.
Oh, you might have to take this bit out, but
No,
I'll
no,
see
I
it.
don't want to chop stuff out.
See
I
it.
don't want to chop stuff out. No, it's too hard. You can say it, but I don't want to. I don't like.
I don't know. It was just like,
Give it like a vanilla version.
yeah,
of like,
it was
and a PG version.
some people are already going to be pissed off that I've said that much, but it was just the timing of the project was absolutely not what I'd hoped. I'd hoped to like have the green lights, build it in like December, ride it for a whole summer,
Yeah.
and then film like, basically my plan was like the day national champs finish, I'll go out there and we'll start filming kind of thing. But I would have already ridden it for like
Yeah,
2 months, like,
yeah.
be comfy on the jumps, have like tweaked anything that needed tweaking, like have it all dialed. But because the timeline got blown out and we didn't actually get the green light until after national champs, I was like building it in March, end of March, start of April, which in Tassie is like pretty risky.
Yeah, the weather's
Especially
not
if you're
great.
building jumps that size, like you need the weather to be perfect. So I was like already behind on that. Just worked myself into exhaustion trying to like get it done. It was like sun up to sundown for almost like 15 days straight or whatever it was, like just in a digger by myself. Had some help from friends, and like Rowan ran the smaller digger a little bit, or like car rolled stuff in. Had like a good crew that slapped some stuff, but like primarily I just dug it myself.
I don't think people understand the effort that goes into like building stuff that is that big and that works.
Yeah, well, I had no idea if it was going to work. I'd never built anything remotely that size.
Yeah.
So that was like obviously a lot of like mental fatigue as well. And then we started filming. I think we got like 2 days into filming, or the
How
first.
long did you have between finishing it and filming? Like finishing it.
I was finishing it when we'd already started filming.
So you hadn't got it done and you started filming it.
Yeah. We just started filming the stuff at the top while I was working the stuff on the bottom.
True.
Yeah, because it was like coming into winter and I already had a ferry booked.
True.
Yeah, we needed to get this shit done.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was like pretty hectic. Like we'd film in the morning, and then once the light turned shit, because the light didn't look how I suppose it could have. Like we only got, you know, usually if you shoot like sunrise, you get to shoot sunset as well, and it's like similar light,
Golden hour kind of thing.
like golden hour. The way that the sun went, we only had sunrise. So I was kind of like, maybe we should just lean into like the flat, slightly darker, moody light in the afternoon, which we had like 6 hours of. But Jared was like, nah, we have to go with the golden light in the morning, which finished product is like probably worth it. It looks sick, but it meant we had like 2.5 hours
So you just cram it
a day
Yeah.
to film, and we had to be there at like 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, and we'd film. It was probably like 3 hours. We'd film from like 6:30, 7, and I think 9:30 was like the hard cutoff. Like we'd probably try and wrap up by like 9.
Mm.
So that like doubled the shoot days because we could only shoot mornings. So instead of being 4 days, it was 8 days of filming or whatever it was. And like 3 days into filming, after having built it, like I was just completely cooked. I was so cooked. Like I was trying to ride and like just couldn't pump anything. I was absolutely exhausted.
I think people understand like filming a mountain bike project is such a physical task. Like mentally it's draining, physically it's draining. It's so many.
Well, it's insane. Like, and because I'm a perfectionist, I know what I want shit to look like on camera. Jared's a perfectionist. He knows what he wants shit to look like. We were doing so many takes of things because I want it to be perfect. He wanted it to be perfect. And like the chances of you both nailing it 100% at the same time are like sometimes pretty rare. So I'd be like pushing up that hill and like because there's not much light, you're like running back up the hill pretty much. Like it was and then also riding the biggest jumps I've ever ridden at 7 o'clock in the morning with no warm up was like mentally, it was hectic. It was so hectic.
Yeah, it's a lot to just your brain to comprehend before your body even gets involved.
Like that drone clip I put up the other night, like as a reel, that massive like step up, like slightly right hip thing was the third jump in the line. And like every morning that we were filming, because that jump worked really well actually, it was super easy. That was my warm up.
Just to go into
like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, I'd be jumping that thing.
How big was the jump?
Like 50, somewhere in the 50-foot realm. But like it sends you up. Like
I saw when someone bailed. I don't know if it was you or someone else.
That wasn't me.
They just jumped off halfway and they just like.
Yeah, that was like first like test. And the lip was so soggy. I don't know why we even thought that it was going to happen that day. But yeah, like 7 o'clock in the morning, being like, right, I've had a coffee. Let's go.
Let's get the adrenaline going.
It was so hectic. So yeah, I had to take like a week off because I was just like completely cooked.
Before you finished it?
Yeah, that was. I think we filmed for like 3-4 days. Took a week off. Then Jared come back down. And then we had some rain. Then Jared come back down. And then... Well, Jared was going to come down on Sunday. And we were going to...
Jared? What's his last name?
English.
Jared English, yeah.
So, because I took a week off... And then it rained for a couple of days. And then we had to wait like a few days of sun before it was dry enough for us to start filming. We had like this bullshit window of like 3 days. And then that window finished on the Wednesday. And I like got on the boat.
You got on the bus.
Got on the boat on the Thursday.
Yeah.
And on the Saturday afternoon... I was like, all right, cool, I haven't ridden for a week. I should probably go out there and, like, ride. So I went out there Saturday afternoon, was riding, like, did a few runs. Had a crash, which, like, I was just wrecked. So we couldn't film. Like, I crashed on that step up, like, the real big one. Crashed on that. We couldn't film Sunday. I had to call Jared and was like, dude, don't come down yet. And then that meant that we had... I think Monday, Tuesday, not even. I think Jared couldn't do Monday or whatever, so we had like Tuesday, Wednesday to like finish filming. It was so hectic.
I think I need to buy like a spa voucher, and you just need to go and just like go for a spa for a week or so, and just get like rehabilitated and rejuvenated.
When I every time I go see Caroline Buchanan in Canberra, they have like a sauna at their place.
Yeah.
Like first thing I do when I get there, I'm just like beeline it for the sauna.
Sauna, ice bath, massage.
So good.
We need to refresh. You need to,
Yeah, pretty much just been going since then.
Yeah, we heard the van story. We know.
Yeah.
We know you've been deep in it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that there was like a lot of things with that project that went wrong.
Yeah, it's just a bit crammed. I feel like with a lot of that stuff, man, like it always seems to get like. You get this time frame and then it just never seems to line up. Like I know whenever we've shot stuff, it's always like, oh, we need to shoot all this stuff in 2 days.
Yeah.
And you're like, why 2 days?
Yeah,
why?
It's just expensive to do more than 2 days.
No, but it's just even like we only have 2 days and then like we don't have like, and then we're launching
no wiggle room. Yeah,
yeah. Like we're launching this in a week. I'm like, what? But you've had it for months.
Yeah.
This is with heaps of different companies. This has always been the kind of similar thing happens.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff with that project like that. Yeah, I've learnt to do different for next time. Like, I could organize things so much different to make sure that things run smoother and like allow more time, allow more budget for I learnt a lot about trying to organize stuff, but like until you've done it, you don't know what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no like guidebook. Like the only information I could figure out to learn from was like there's heaps of videos on YouTube for some reason that tell you like how to write and pitch and organize a music video. So that was like how I learnt to put together like a document to pitch the project in the first place. And then like that I was just basing it off like how do people organize music videos.
You need to sell them a product. This is the thing, people like, and this is what I used to do. I used to go to Scott or Intense or whoever it was and say like I want to do a video, and they're kind of like, cool,
what are we going to get out of it?
Yeah, what are we going to get out of it? What's the video about? How much is it going to cost? Where are you going to shoot it? Yeah, it's like you need your deliverables, you need your time frame, you need your budget. Once you get all that, they're like, oh, this is an actual product that we can see, and then they can determine whether they want to do it. And if you put that forward, normally like, yeah, sweet, let's go ahead.
Yeah, which is that's what I had to learn how to do. And then because like the budget was not huge in the end because we doubled the days of filming. So like Jared was already like doing a huge favor and running at a loss pretty much, I reckon.
Yeah.
But then that meant that like he didn't have time to cut together like all the reels and like all the social media content. So like all of that content, he just sent me 2 files that were like the main video and the behind the scenes video. And then I just spent like 3 days just in front of the computer just cutting reels. Yeah, and I was like so overwatched. And then by the time the video come out, I was like, I don't even know if this is good anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm so sick of looking at it.
Yeah. It's sad how that happens, eh? Like when you actually get stuck in creating it. Yeah. By the end of it, you're like...
It's like you never use a song that you love when you're editing a video because you just hate the song by the end of it.
Yeah. You just give that to someone else. Like, can you make this cool?
Yeah, handball that one off.
Yeah, handball
over there.
Yeah. No, I know the feeling.
But yeah, that project was hectic. But that's also like, it was definitely worthwhile putting myself through because that's...
Again, another like, it's just like a learning.
I learnt heaps. It's like a lot of opportunities have come from that. I think it was a good... Like, I kind of wanted to like make a bit of a statement and be like, I can ride this stuff. Like, if I can build it and test it and not die...
Yeah, that's the other thing. You can build it and ride. And that's like something I think Sevenok has like made, like when he builds... completely random stuff. Well, it's like obviously him and his crew of people, but they build it and then ride it. Yeah, it's like it's this art form where it's not just you riding. It's like you like because trail building's art. I don't care.
That's why I do it.
Yeah,
I'm like an artist at heart. I reckon.
Exactly. It's like this art you can build and then you ride it. So it's like two of your passions are combined. It's one of the coolest things that I don't think people can kind of grasp unless they do both. Yeah,
100%. And like building stuff that big. Not, I don't know, like if you're building say like a Fest series course, I don't want to compare it to Fest, but it's like as close as it's like what else do you compare it to, I suppose. It's like all those dudes have ridden stuff that big, or now at least. Like back in the day, gnarly as shit because they're like, well, I don't know if this works.
It's unknown.
It's the biggest jump anyone's ever done on a mountain bike. But it's like building it and then trying to test it when you've like actually built it yourself and your friends, like I had good friends there that I trusted their judgment, like Josh Johnston, he's like worked in Whistler on like Joyride crew, like I trust his judgment of like if something's gonna work or not, but at the same time he's not riding off that lip. There's like he like didn't want to bar of jumping that shit. So then you just like all of that pressure of building it, getting it done, and then all of a sudden you're like, cool, sit on the roll in, hope this thing fucking works.
It's so much like mathematics to it that you don't even understand. Like your brain's like a supercomputer trying to figure out like angles and like.
I changed that lip of the step up lip, like the one that's in the trees. I changed that lip like 4 times, like very subtly, before I was comfortable to send myself off of it, because I was like the other jump was kind of like pretty slack. It was pretty long, but I couldn't really see much going too wrong. I was like, as long as I feel like I got speed, it's gonna be fine. Whereas a step up was like, it felt like riding a BMX jump, except you're going like 60k an hour, and it's like 45 foot long or whatever. Like, it's sending you just up. I was like, I've never ridden a jump like this. I've never seen a jump like this in person. I've definitely never fucking built one. So I was like, I can think that I know what's going to happen when I go off that lip, but I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah, you gotta find
Am I just going to go straight up and not go forward, or what? Like, yeah, it was crazy.
I feel it's funny. My pa actually asked me. I was making like a motocross track in our paddock, and I was building like a double, and just my pa just like came up to me as I was building it. He's like, "How do you know how big to make it?" And I kind of like stopped, and I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah,
It's like it's years.
Yeah,
it's years of
just doing it.
Like someone, because there's obviously not a set out. Like, you can't get a qualification as a trail builder.
No.
But it's one of the hardest things to do properly, and
100%.
so many people can't do it properly.
No.
And I think it's like, I was talking to someone about the other day. I was like, I'm probably just as good of a trail builder, if not better than a rider, because I've been building trails since I was 10 years old.
Yeah, it comes from necessity, I think, in Australia especially, or in Victoria especially. It's like, if you want to ride certain stuff, you just have to build it, because there's no bike parks. Or there's a couple popping up now, but like, when I was younger, I didn't have any mountain bikes. I didn't have anything to ride. We didn't even have a skate park in my town. If I wanted to ride stuff, I had to build it.
And you got to put in time, man. Like, it takes, like, I was funny because when we went surfing not too long ago, like when I went surfing with Jack, I just remember watching them. They could read the waves. Yeah. And they would like know when a wave was coming, and they'd start paddling, and I'd just be like,
what are you paddling for?
What are you paddling for? And then they'd be up on a wave.
Yeah.
And I was like, you've done it so long that you can understand how to read the waves. And it's just like with trail building, like, you understand how to read the terrain and use the terrain. Yeah. Like, I'll walk down a track and be like, that'll work. Yeah. And like, how to use it in a way that takes the least amount of work, but will give you the best result.
That was the same thing with Notion. I was like, how can I build the biggest jumps possible by moving like the least amount of dirt?
Exactly. I think people don't see that. People just try and move all this dirt, and it's just if you haven't done it, you don't understand it properly. And it's kind of sad in Australia, because we don't actually have that many good trail builders. And
no, I think there's, in Australia, from my perspective, there's a lot of dudes that don't do it for a job that should be, and there's a lot of dudes that are doing it for a job that probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, there's a lot of tracks out there that you just like, I just question some of it, and it's like, when you see stuff where it's just basic stuff where I'm like, there's no drainage here. Yeah. There's no you can't carry speed here. Like, you're building jumps, but you're not going to get any speed out of the corner.
Or like the opposite a lot of the time is like, people build a jump trail and it's just way too fast. And I'm probably guilty of doing that at some point, but like, I think people just they either don't ride the stuff that they build, because it's such a fast-paced industry where you're like, cool, built that thing, onto the next one. You just move on. You never come back. So people don't get to like pay attention to whether like the stuff they've built works or not.
Yeah, they're just in and out.
Or they just do ride it and they're like, oh, I built it, so this is like the best thing ever.
There's a lot of ego involved in it. Yeah.
It's like, a lot of the stuff I built sucks. From my opinion anyway. Because
I think you've got to kind of... there's a certain thing where, like, I think a good trail builder can build a trail for everyone.
Yeah, I reckon.
And that's the thing. It's like, they can build it, and that's what I try and do when I build something. I want to build it so your girlfriend can ride it and have a smile on her face, and I can ride it and have a smile on my face. And it's the same track. And I think that's doable. And people don't get that.
Building a green trail is like the hardest. Actually, I reckon a blue trail is the hardest thing to build. And blue is like intermediate at best. Because as soon as it's not green, people just like turn a bit of a blind eye to some of the guidelines, and they're like, I'm just going to build a jump. Or like, it's going to be this steep or whatever. It's like, nah.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No.
You're going to take someone out.
Yeah, someone's going to die.
How do you feel about the trail network in Bright, Victoria?
I don't want to get into that.
I want
to piss some people
off.
I
want to get into that because
it sucks.
Oh, it's hopeless, hey. And
it's terrible.
I feel like I can have an opinion on this because I go and try and make it better. Yeah. And there's so much, like, it's just, okay, this is my opinion. You can't have a successful mountain bike park in a plantation where the trees get cut down all year round. Like, it just, you need to own the land. It needs to be, you need to own the land and have one entity.
You can't have a commercial park.
No. And the fact is that now they're charging people to go and ride it. when more and more stuff keeps getting destroyed, and it's like one step forward, three steps back. And
But also, like, where I would like some answers as to where that money's going.
oh,
Because last time I went there, the road was cooked. The trails are absolutely fucked.
dude, the fact that me, Sam Purdy, Zach Bradley, and I think someone else was with us, I wanted to go fix the World Cup downhill track there because I wanted to train on it. So we went there. I talked to the head, like the management of the trail crew.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yep, go for it. I trust you. You know how to build tracks. Go do it." We went to go up. There's a guy on the gate at the bottom that was like, "No way. You're not working on it." And I was like, "I've got onto Mark. It's all good."
Yeah.
He's like, still hesitant. Still wasn't like, "Oh, okay, it's fine." He's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted him to like argue with me because I was like, I had fire. I was like, I'm trying to do your job for free.
Does the dude that sits on the gate, is he part of forestry or is he part of the mountain bike club?
Mountain bike club. So he'd be getting paid.
That's where their money's coming. Paying his wage.
But anyway, like we went up there and fixed up this whole track in 2 afternoons.
Yeah.
And it was like it was to the point where it's not only needed work just because make it better. It was dangerous. Like there was like blind drops, water ruts going off the track. Like the fact that, and this whole idea that people come up with where it's like, oh, it's just more challenging. Fuck off. Like, I race World Cups, and that's dangerous. That's not challenging. That's dangerous.
No, it's just like...
It's laziness, and it's dangerous.
I've gone to so many tracks over the years where, like, people have built features, like man-made feature, or disregarded maintenance in a certain section for that exact reason, where they're like, oh, yeah, it just makes it technical, gives you something to think about. It's like, no. If you put a tree in the middle of the track, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make it technical.
Yeah.
That makes it dangerous.
Yeah.
Full stop. Like, you can maintain a track and make it safe and still create line choice and still, like, make people think about stuff.
Yeah.
And it not be dangerous.
Yeah. This is the thing I also want to mention. Like, I would happily pay a park to ride. Happily. I'd pay more than what they're asking if that money was going directly back into trail development, trail maintenance, road maintenance. Like, make it something worth. Like, what product are you giving us? Like, you not only is the park, it's not even just maintaining what it is. It's going backwards with the forestry. So I'm like,
every time I go there, it's getting worse.
Oh man, it's like, and it's a big part of like why I left, like Bright, because I moved there.
That's controversial.
But it's like literally, I went there to train.
That's a big statement,
and use it, and like this.
Bright better be listening.
This is a trail facility, dude. I offered for free to build a new downhill track, and Mark McConaughey, a guy that works there, offered machinery. Yeah. They just had to cover his fuel. Yeah. I applied. I walked the hill, I think 3 times in total. Once with the GPS and twice just to like mark out a line. And they're like, applied for it, did all like paperwork, everything. I was like, I'm gonna do gonna do this properly. Anyway, 2.5 years later, nothing, because it's got to go through so many channels and networks to try and actually make anything happen, because it's got so many entities like the paragliding, the forestry, and the mountain bike club. It's too many people. Anyway, got to that point where I'm like, this is too hard. So I just go build illegal tracks by myself. Yeah. Where no one knows where they are. Well, people do know where they are, but like, I'm like, I don't care.
Just go do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's why Victoria has like an issue with people building stuff illegally, because it's too hard to build stuff legally. It's and the stuff that does get built legally either sucks or it's like not built well and it falls apart, but mostly it just sucks. Yeah. It's like, I don't understand how a council, right? And this is not even mountain bike club's fault. I don't see how a council can like see kids building dirt jumps in the park and be like, can't do that, bulldoze those, and then replace it with an asphalt pump track. Or an asphalt pump track's alright, actually. Replace it with a dirt pump track. Yeah. It's like, the kids wanted jumps. Yeah. Build the kids jumps. Yeah. And then you see that dirt pump track and the kids have built jumps on the pump track. Yeah. It's like, they're building jumps because they want to ride jumps or like whatever it is. Or they're building illegal downhill tracks because they want to ride downhill tracks. Don't go and build them a cross-country track. Yeah. Like, just, it seems simple to me, but I think it's like too much red tape.
Yeah, it's, man, yeah. I get just frustrated with it. Like, I've been racing mountain bikes for 16 years, and
Yeah.
to see mountain bike parks go backwards,
Yeah.
and to see places like close lifts and
Yeah.
tracks get, in my opinion, built worse.
Yeah.
It's just like you fight an uphill battle,
Yeah.
and it honestly makes me a bit sour on the whole thing. Like, I honestly try. Like, I try to like put more effort in and like help, and like I will 100% get on a shovel and go work for 6 hours a day to make a track better for free. Yes, it benefits me because I get to ride it, but also
Car
going home.
Vroom, vroom.
But also when there's people that are getting paid $40 an hour.
Yeah.
It's
I actually had this conversation the other day with the guys at Boomerang Farm, because we were talking about like the lack of building culture, I suppose, in like today's current climate. Like we said before, like if we wanted to ride something when we were younger, we had to go build it, or we at least had to go and help build it, because you couldn't just go to a bike park, hand over $50 or $80 or whatever, and go and ride shit that's already been built for you. Whereas now you can do that. So I feel like a lot of kids, especially, it's like look at Boomerang Farm. You can go ride jumps there. Some of them aren't the best. Some of them are really good. But like, you don't need to go and build your own jumps. You can just go pay a dude $50. They'll drive you to the top of the hill, and you can ride jumps that somebody else maintains. I feel like that's kind of like, definitely, it's really cool that there's commercial bike parks, and it's epic that you can go and pay money and ride something that somebody else has built, and we can have like a sustainable career building the stuff. But at the same time, the ability to be able to do that has like killed the need for kids to go and build their own shit, which means that like the club here, they can't get kids to come and help with like dig days out at Illenbar, or like maintenance on tracks or whatever, because like
I've never understood that, man. Like, there's so many kids that I know that ride that have never seen them working on stuff.
They don't need to.
But I kind of do, because everything's like is not great. Like, I feel
in
like
Bright they do.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like in a lot of places, man.
Yeah.
Like, as a kid, like I remember I'd ride tracks, and there was tracks there. Like, there was tracks to ride, but like these aren't any good.
Yeah,
like,
so you gotta make them better.
Yeah, so I'd always go out there, and I actually really enjoyed it as well. Like, it was like therapy and art to me. I was like, creating something like really cool was like a passion.
There's nothing better than like going out by yourself or with some mates and just like playing music, drinking a couple cans of soft drink or some beers or whatever, and just building something, and then you go and ride it. Yeah. It's like literally the sickest thing ever.
Yeah, it's such the whole process is cool.
Yeah, and especially if you go out by yourself and like just chuck some headphones in, and you just like, you almost like get in that flow state or whatever you want to call it. You just completely zone out, and you're like, especially digging dirt jumps, because it is, for me, digging dirt jumps is massively about like the artistic side of it, and like trying to make stuff look as pretty as I can. You're just like there slapping a lip and like getting all the corners like perfect, and you're like, holy shit, it's been 4 hours. Like, where did that go?
Dude, I'd be lost on, I'd go probably 4 or 5 hours, just be on a pick. Just like picking away like a single track, like just ripping into the, and like fitness, like you're in nature, you're creating, you're being artistic. It's like it ticks all these boxes. Yeah,
and not only that, you're like building exactly what you want to ride.
Yeah, so you can't complain.
Is epic.
I hate when I hear kids that complain about shit.
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, there's no good jumps here, or there's no like this turn sucks. Go fix it.
That's why I feel like I've almost got some like because I hate people that just complain but don't do anything about it. But in Bright, like, I've been not only fixing what's there, even when I get resistance from it, been trying to build new stuff, been like making, like, I am not just complaining about this not being good. I am
being proactive
as much as I can. Yeah. And it's still just not going anywhere. So I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah. But like I said, those kids, even if they complain about the stuff not being what they want, or it being flogged or whatever, they can still go pay. How much is a shuttle day with Blue Dirt?
I'm not too sure off the top of my head.
It's too much, because they don't put it much back in from what I've seen, but you can go
it's getting real controversial.
Maybe they do, but I haven't seen it.
I don't think they can. I think Blue Dirt have tried to put more like work, because I think they said they would build a track from the top of Bright, and the club didn't want them to. So I think they've got.
I retract that statement.
Well, I think
Sorry,
I'm pretty sure. I think they've got pushback as well.
I'm just salty from when we built Hero Trail and Jacko worked through the night so we could get it open for their shuttle day, and they wouldn't give the boys a free day of shuttles. I was just like, "Are you kidding? You have a shuttle that exclusively goes to the start of Hero Trail."
Yeah.
Like at that point, there was nowhere else. Like you get dropped to Hero Trail, you ride Hero Trail, full stop.
Yeah.
Wouldn't give us a free day of shuttles.
True. I have no comment on this.
I was pretty salty about it.
I didn't know about this. I have no comment.
Yeah, but anyway, sure they're putting back in now.
Yeah.
Well, what are we talking about?
Just pretty much how Australia needs better trails. And if you're listening to this,
go to Tassie.
And go. Dude, I got back from Derby and Medina after that national champs trip.
Yeah.
And I went to this track I was building, and I remember just being so inspired and motivated to be like,
epic.
I'm putting more effort into this because I can and I should.
Yeah.
I remember
but then other side of the coin is you go ride that stuff. Like go ride Medina and you go ride Bright and you're just like, what is this?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Sucks.
Dude, or you go to Europe or
you
Canada,
come back and you're just
anywhere.
like, what the hell?
That's why I don't even really care that much about riding in Australia anymore, because it's like, if I'm fit, healthy, my mind's in a good place, I can just go to Europe, be there for a week, get my bike speed back up.
That is why I moved to Tassie.
Yeah.
Because I thought the riding here is the best. The place is sick.
I just don't think it's too isolated for me. That's the only thing. Like Medina's like you're in.
I moved to Hobart.
Yes,
living in Hobart is so sick.
But then even to like get to the riding's an hour. That's the only. Like
you got when I'm in, bro.
What's that? Yeah, but but then you're isolating yourself. That's what I mean. Like when I'm in Europe, it's like I live in an apartment where I have a 5-minute walk to the lift, and I can ride and do probably if I wanted to, I could probably do 40 runs in a day. Realistically,
I think you're just a bit spoiled.
No, I think it's I think it's just like, but how couldn't that be the same?
Yeah, like, I don't understand why we can't have that here.
Exactly. It's like we're so like it makes me like I'm a bit like cynical and sour on it just because of.
No, I get what you're saying though.
Done it for so long and it's just stagnated.
The first trip I did to Europe, like when I was young, I just stayed in a chalet in like at the base of Super Morzine pretty much.
Yeah.
You just like roll out your front door to the lift, do as many runs as you can fathom, ride like the sickest tracks ever. You could literally ride whatever you wanted pretty much. You ride jumps, you could ride berms, you could go ride plenty steeps, which are like insane. You could ride over to Chatel. Freedom. Do as much riding as you want. Get a pastry on the way home. Done.
And then you're not motivated to come home and sit in a troopy carrier for
home
a road that's
Yeah.
run down, and it's
come home and you're like, whoa, you got to organise shuttles?
Yeah.
What the hell? And there was no bike parks back then. I couldn't even go to Medina and just pay a dude and be like, drive me up the hill.
Yeah, that's a new thing as well.
Yeah.
Kids out there, or
really
guys out there, anyone, just grab a shovel, go help your club, like put in the effort.
Go build some shit.
Yeah. But it's just, if they'll let you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Yeah. Yeah. Just do it illegally. I shouldn't be advocating for that, but like, I cut my teeth building illegal trails. That's how I am the trail builder that I am.
I've been the same, yeah.
I've had
actually not all of them actually.
I've had dirt jump spots bulldozed. I've had like downhill tracks delete. Like,
you know what I learnt from this? And this was like a really good life lesson that I didn't even realize, but it built this resilience in me. So when I was younger, I always built dirt jumps because we lived on a farm. Yeah. And every year when the grass would get longer, my uncle would put sheep into the paddock that I built the dirt jumps, and they would just wreck them. Yeah. Again and again and again. Yeah. And you know what? I would rebuild them again.
Yeah, exactly.
And again. Yeah. And again. And subconsciously it taught me this thing that was like, you can put all your effort into something and create something that took hours and hours and hours. Yeah. And something outside of your control could come and destroy it. Yeah. And you know what you got to do? Just build it again. Yeah. And just keep doing it. And it's just like, I didn't realize until years later, like that resilience that it was building in that lesson, because I remember I hated when these sheep would come in. Yeah. Because I couldn't stop them. Like I tried to build a fence around it, but it was just nothing. It was just this is how it worked.
Oh, I would be so salty at that.
Like, imagine spending, like, you know what it's like to build them and, like, build them properly. And
Yeah.
then one day, like, because I wouldn't get warning. I just would come home one day and they'd just be
sheep there.
yeah, they're just done.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, well, I suppose trail season's over.
Yeah, literally. I was like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah.
And then
We had our dirt jumps, like, bulldozed one time. We dug them for, like, 4 years. There was, like, probably 5 of us, I reckon, that were consistent for, like, 4 years. They were in this, like, real nice little spot, tucked away. All the people on the street closest were fine with it. The farmer whose land it backed onto, we actually thought it was his land for, like, the first 2 years until we spoke to him. And he was like, oh, no, I just used to use that for my cows. Like, there was just a hole in the fence or whatever. And then, we just come home one day and there's just a sign that said these jumps are getting bulldozed. And we're like, cool.
Do you reckon the person bulldozing felt bad, or do you reckon he enjoyed it?
Nah, he felt shit. Dad's the local postie in that
okay.
he delivers that street. That's how I found that spot.
Yeah.
And he was there the day that they were unloading the trucks, and Dad was like, "What are you guys doing?" And apparently the dude driving the dozer was like, he did not want to be there.
Yeah.
He was like, "This sucks."
Well, that's nice at least. He's not like...
he's not happy about it.
No, he's not like smiling and laughing like maniacally.
We organised a meeting with the council
to try and keep him.
And they basically come out and were like, "Oh, it's really cool what you guys have done here, but we're dozing them anyway."
Yeah, it's all this red tape, health and safety, like...
Yeah. Well, they said what did they say? I think if we had have set ourselves up as a club and got insurance as a mountain bike club.
Yeah, but your kids, man.
Yeah, it was never going to happen. Like, they like laid out this like way that we could maybe keep them.
Yeah.
But it was like, that is so unachievable for a bunch of 14-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Even with mum and dad's help, not going to happen.
Yeah. If you set up an ABN and you
set up an ABN, make yourself an established mount. Basically, we had to turn ourselves into a BMX club. Yeah. We had to turn
ourselves... start trading crypto, we might think about keeping them.
We had to turn ourselves into like an official BMX club.
Yeah.
Like same as like any BMX racetrack would.
Yeah.
Pay like the same insurance that they would pay.
Set up a little clubhouse.
And we could keep the jumps.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
If you've got so don't build them illegally. Find a friend of yours that has land and build them on.
Yeah, that's the dream.
And also not sheep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but if there's sheep, like still build stuff.
Yeah, still do it.
It'll teach you some lessons.
Yeah, build resilience, but
yeah,
no sheep, friends land.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
If you can get private property and build jumps, go and build as many jumps as you can.
Or just go out in the forest where they're hidden and like, because I've
built heaps of tracks like that.
Yeah, I've built a few illegal tracks, and then this was one thing that people, because I kept riding a track that I built near Wodonga, and heaps of people just like, oh, where is it? And
I think I've seen videos of that one. It looks so sick.
Yeah.
Benny used to ride it.
Yeah. So that was that, dude. That took, because I remember, again, I was just complaining. I was living in Wodonga. I was like, there's no tracks to ride around here. Like Bright and Beauty is like an hour away. And I just got sick of complaining. So I'm like, I've just got to build my own downhill track to train on. And I was like, I'm committing to it. And there was a kind of a track there that I knew I could link into. Yeah. But it had no top. So I'm like, I had to, and I just went there for months, man. I reckon I spent 3 months, pretty much most days, for at least 4 to 6 hours, just digging by myself. People would come now and again. Benny's War would come out now and again. Gary McIver, like few people, but like a day here and there. But I was like committed to doing this. And this is all hand tools. And I ended up finishing and linking this track up, and dude, it was like, it was good that I did it, but man, it was so much work to actually like put this effort in.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, I'm not going to say who it was, they actually brought a bobcat up at one point and built jumps at the top with the bobcat. So he had like jumps at the top and then real cool berms. That's epic. And then some rock. It was kind of good because they had a bit of everything and it flowed really well. And then
it looked real fun. I remember seeing videos of it.
It was it was short because we don't have big hills, but the whole time you're just on it, and it was such a fun track to ride.
You ride Long Gully?
Yeah.
That was the same. It was like short, but like it was
good. It's
so
punchy.
Sick.
Yeah, you're always on to something. Yeah.
It was good.
But I told people, because people kept asking me where it was because I kept putting up videos, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's here, and I told a few people. And then eventually
blows out the spot, bro.
Too many people. And the thing was, everyone would always be like, oh, can you tell me? I won't tell anyone. I'm like, yeah, but you're still someone. Yeah. And you're going to go ride it. And it just, eventually the people that lived on the road just started complaining about mountain bikes coming up. Yeah. And then the council found out about it, and they put, I think first off, they put a sign up, and then people kept riding it, and then they put a gate up so you couldn't drive to the start.
Yeah.
And then they eventually just destroyed all the top jumps, just flattened them, and just put like trees and stuff down. And that was sad. That was a sad day. That it was kind of like, it's still kind of there,
Sort
but
of over.
it's kind of I don't ride there anymore. I don't live really near there. But if it was still like,
no, you live real far away from there at the moment.
I'd be up here. But I would go, if I lived in Bright, I would go back there and ride it.
Yeah.
If it was still 100%. But I don't even know what it looks like now.
Yeah.
But that was sad, just for how much work I put into that. Like, and that was like solo.
But I think that's part of being a trail builder.
You've got to understand that when it's illegal.
Sometimes you don't even get to ride shit. I built so much stuff I've never ridden.
That's why I'd love to build something legal. Like, go to a club and be like, hey, I want to. Because if I was going to build a new downhill track at Bright, like, I'd put my heart and soul into that.
Yeah.
Like, I would make this the best downhill track that has ever been in Bright, and trying to attract like a national champs to be held there again. And
I would love that.
And bring money into the town. Like, well, I talked to you about coming and helping as well.
Yeah. I would 100%. Bright, if you're listening, I'm keen.
Oh, man.
Let's make it happen.
You've got... like, I just...
I've started building over COVID before I moved to Tassie. I started building a downhill track in, like, we had massive fires in, like, Bunyip State Park, which is pretty close to Mum and Dad's place. And I was digging dirt jumps in the backyard flat out, like, because it was winter. And I was like, I kind of need, like, something else to focus on as well, so I don't get burnt out of digging these jumps. Because I had no work on, nothing. I was just stuck at home. I loved the COVID lockdowns. I've absolutely fucking loved it. It was just guilt-free digging every single day.
Thriving, not surviving.
Epic. And because I had all the time in the world, it felt like, I was like, I don't care if this takeoff takes me 3 days just to do the edges. Like, I'm just making it look as good as I can.
Yeah.
But anyway, I started where we had the fires. I, like, jumped on. I did, like, heaps of research, like, found this, like, sick spot where I was going to build a track. Went out and walked it, flagged it. Started building this track just by myself. I'd just, like, dig jumps for, like, a couple of days. Go out there, dig for a few days. And because it had just been burnt, there was, like, no undergrowth. I could just rake in a line, dig catch berms, and, like, basically just do the fun shit, because I hate clearing. It's, like, the worst bit of trail building is clearing. Built this whole track, or almost a whole track, like, insane, like, granite rock features. Like, the thing was going to be sick. But the shuttle road was blocked off from the fires, so you couldn't get up there. Built this track over, like, a bunch of months. Then I moved to Tassie to build the dirt jumps down there. Then I came home for Christmas, and I was like, surely the shuttle road's open by now. Like, it's been nearly a year since the fires. Road was still closed. By the time I come home next and the road was open, the track was just completely overgrown. Like, I never even got to test a single feature. That was just... I, like, dug for months.
Resilience.
Yeah, and I was...
Resilience.
I've got photos probably somewhere on my phone of that track that I sent them to friends or whatever. Like,
true.
I was so keen.
Send it to me, we'll put it as a clip.
Yeah, it looked, like, so sick. Built, like, these massive rock step downs. I was, like, building rock walls, like, did the full job of it. Never even got to ride a single corner. Man. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, you've accepted it.
Yeah.
Again, resilience.
Well, it was the building.
Well, the thing
building it was like the fun bit.
I get what you're saying. It's like the whole idea. I know when I go out and build trails, it's like I'm getting fitter. Again, I'm in nature.
Yeah.
I'm creating art.
You're
it's like how many people
cool.
paint something or do something or sculpt or something. It's like they don't write it. They just make it.
Man, I have, like, since I've been drawing on my iPad, I got, like, Procreate a couple of years ago on an iPad. And I have, like, the biggest backlog of, like, designs that I was initially drawing for, like, to put on a t-shirt or to make as a sticker or whatever. I just have this, like, insane amount of drawings that have never seen the light of day, and I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah. It's just for you.
Like, part of it. It's just, for me.
Yeah.
And then a few of them I'll, like,
do more stuff
do something
for you, not for others.
Yeah.
Like, do stuff for others, but focus on you first.
Yeah, I get definitely stuck in the trap of, like, doing you want to do something, and then you're like, why am I doing this? And like, because, like, so and so will approve of it or whatever, and then you're like, yeah, cool, sweet, and you just start doing it, and you're like, hang on a minute,
dude, when
I actually want to do this.
Yeah, when you check in with yourself and realize, like, what you want to do and start like leading your life
Yeah.
through that. Like I got up here, and there's had a part of me I kind of want to go to Asia, and I've been
Yeah.
thinking about that for a while, and even to the sunny coast and keep traveling. And I had this moment where I was like, what do I actually want to do?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm kind of sick of being solo. Hey, like my whole life, like for this year, like I'm always by myself. I'm always traveling. I'm always moving, which is exciting. It's fun. To a
you get sick of it.
certain point, man, I just want to be around new people and make new groups of friends and be in like a network of just growth.
That was what I loved about like moving to Hobart, and I moved into just like the first like actual share house I'd ever lived in that wasn't with work. Moved into a share house with like one dude I was friends with, 2 girls that I'd never met before, made like heaps of friends through them, had like a local coffee shop for the first time in my life. Never been in one place long enough to become a local at a coffee shop. And that was sick. Like
it's nice, eh? It's refreshing.
They got a sticker of Gnala on the coffee machine. Like I'll go there every morning, get a coffee. Like that, living there and actually like becoming a part of the community is like the best way to put it. And like finding out where just like simple shit, finding where like your favorite place to eat is or whatever. Like that was something that I didn't know I was missing that I now value quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I want to like coming up here. It's like I want to have just a circle of people, whether it be at a gym, whether it be at like a bar, a cafe, at Fist or whatever. Like I want to be immersed in this new lifestyle around new people, because like it is like to an extent, like we are living the dream in the sense if adventure is your dream. But adventure like when you've done it so long, it becomes like it is a dream, but also like just normality becomes a dream. Like you said, going to a coffee shop every day and knowing
the faces.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Dad the other day, actually, like this trip specifically, a lot of shit's gone wrong, blah, blah, but like what it has shown me is that like I need like a good base to just be grounded at. Like that can move like every year or 6 months or whatever, but instead of like, because the bit that I hated about trail building and why I ended up quitting full-time job trail building until I moved to Medina, which was like a bit more permanent, was like you'd be in a spot for 3 weeks and you'd just start to like settle in and then you move. And you just start to settle in and then you move. Whereas like when I was in Hobart, you like properly settle in, and then I kind of was like, all right, this is becoming a little bit mundane, and then moved. And then now being stuck here, I've like actually settled in to this place, which is really nice. And then like now I'm like happy to move on, but you sort of don't want to move on now because you like found your people. But at the same time, you kind of get itchy feet.
I think it's nice though to like. I think being like, I think our personalities lend itself to traveling and exploring, but that's always going to be there. But also it's like, I think you've got to really understand where you're at in life and what you want to do. Like I'm at a point now where like, I don't really want to move for like, but I will though, like like I'm still going to move. Like I'm going to go to races. I'm still going to go to like Europe in 6 months. But right now, like
stay.
I want to have my bed in a new place and hang out and get up and train with the people and try new things and just like have a new lifestyle. Like I don't want to just be the person that's just constantly moving and living out of a suitcase. Like I've done that for the last.
I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Even being in the van, like I've loved being in the van. I love adventuring, but you get to a point where you're like, all right, I don't want to be in the van anymore.
Yeah, I just want a house.
Yeah. I want to share a house. I want new people. I want what are they doing? Like,
I can definitely agree with that. And I think it's, I don't know, how do I word this? It's like I enjoy traveling, but I've figured out how I enjoy traveling, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's like big blocks in places I want to be when I want to be there, rather than like consistently bouncing around. Like I want to get to a place, be able to like setting up a bedroom. Didn't know that I enjoyed that until I moved to Hobart. I got like this sick room at the front of the house, and I was like, all right.
This is good,
where I bought myself a sick bed, a real comfy mattress, got like a rug and shit. I was like, this is cool.
Bit of feng shui going on.
This is nice. Like had a spot to like do yoga every morning. It was epic. I was like, I didn't know that I valued this, but apparently I do.
Well, it's just routine. Like routine can build such good habits that then can like
lead to more freedom, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's like the more, yeah, exactly. Stole the words out of my mouth. It's perfect.
Great minds think alike.
So,
Yeah, I think, like, I can't remember where I read it or heard it or whatever, but it was like, yeah, routine. Like, people think that just being able to do whatever you want whenever you want is like freedom.
yeah.
But I think if you do have some kind of routine,
Yeah.
then that allows you to, like, if you got a morning routine, just for an example, you wake up, you like tick a bunch of boxes, you've achieved like a thing, and then because you've already got that stuff out of the way, then you're like, all right, cool, now I can choose whatever I want to do.
It's like habit stacking and momentum building.
Yeah.
Because if you want to be free, dude, go jump in the ocean naked, but at a certain point you're like, okay, I kind of want some structure now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like, you can do that if you want, but
Yeah.
at one point you're like, okay, we want to build something a bit more.
Yeah, I want to put some pants on.
Yeah.
And I'm probably cold now, so
yeah,
I'm
exactly. But like the whole idea was like, that's freedom in a nutshell, really.
Yeah.
Like, but you want, at a certain point you want more than that, and I think that's where I'm at right now. It's like I want structure and I want goals and I want all these things, and I feel like I'm in the process of creating that.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yeah, well, like living, like I said, going back to living in Hobart, like living in Hobart, I had like a sick routine. I had like enough structure that I could then just like basically just, I had like a structured day and like a good solid base, and then like that kind of gap in the middle where like you do activities for the day. I could just basically just like pick an activity out of the hat and just like plonk that into there, and like then it was like became a complete day, if that makes sense. So you like wake up, do all this shit, pick your activity. Usually you'd pick it the day before, plonk it into place, hit play, do the activity, and then come home and like have like the same shit around again, which was really nice. And then that led to me being in like the best place possible for like when it did come to a race. I was like, sweet, everything's taken care of. I've like dotted the I, crossed the T's. Like I know where everything is. I know what I need. Everything's organized and ready to go. And then like you don't have to actually think about anything when it comes to like performing. And then going to Cairns, everything was a shambles. And I was like, this is going to be an adventure. This is going to be great fun. And then like my results just went down the toilet because like I had to think about so much other shit that I couldn't focus on riding.
Did I think that's why, you know, when Aaron Gwynn kind of left Martin Whiteley, like I think Martin Whiteley's like one of probably the best team how on the circuit just for how he structures his program. And I think when he had Aaron riding for him, he takes out all the outside unnecessary noise that comes in. And then when he left and started doing his own program and being his own team manager and doing everything, it gets pretty loud. And it's hard to focus when it's loud. So I think if you can find a way to take that out, and I think that comes with routine, because routine then gives you confidence, and then it gives you this like sense of you're doing the exact right thing you should be. So if you got that, all that noise kind of fades away. Yeah,
and I think that's where where you find like more freedom, because you can think about other shit. You don't have to think about like being a privateer and being a junior and trying to race World Cups, for example, like is hard.
Yeah.
Way harder than people think it is. Because like you have to think about, I don't know, shit that you shouldn't have to think about. Like, where am I going to get some Wi-Fi so that I can look at the race schedule for tomorrow? Or like, where am I going to go where am I going to go take a shit? Like, just like random
when
stuff.
You're in a van in the middle of Europe and you don't speak the language, and
or you're at a race and you're like parked up in the back corner and you've like broken your derailleur and you've already used your spare derailleur, like just like random
got
shit.
No extra cash. It's
like your brain is so busy. Whereas like I used to get so jealous of like riding past, say, like the Specialized pits. Like I always thought they had a good setup. And I saw Finn one day finish a run from practice. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but like finished a run from practice, rode into the pits, handed his bike to the mechanic, walked over, grabbed a drink off somebody that already had it prepared for him, took his helmet off, sat down, put his feet up. The mechanic was already working on his bike, and he was like, started watching a GoPro video of his run so that he could get ready for his race run. And I watched that as I was like running around manic, trying to find a derailleur and then like fix my derailleur and then like all this other shit. And because I was in B practice, we had no time. Like, it was so hectic. And I was like, and then I'm supposed to go and race that dude.
But that should also build confidence. Because I looked at that same situation when I was put in that as well. And I thought, how much better is it going to look when I beat that guy?
Yeah, see, I think when I was a junior, I don't think I had the right mindset.
Yeah, see, I went into that because I had the same thing, dude, because I raced against, like, Jean-Luc Vanassa, Mark Wallace, all those guys, like Loris Verger. They all had factory teams, and I was the same as you. I was in a van with the Vanzak.
Yeah,
and
full privateer.
And I remember before I left, it made me nervous, and I was a bit like, oh, how am I going to beat these guys? They've got everything going for them. And then it wasn't until I got third and then won the second race where I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
And how stupid do all you guys look that you're on a factory team and I just beat you and I'm wearing an Australian jersey.
Yeah, see, I never had that. Like, I don't think I had that mindset. And then also, probably because I didn't have that mindset, I didn't ever get like that one little like taste of like, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
I was just always just enough, just far enough back that I was like, I can't see myself bridging that gap.
Yeah.
You get beaten by like, say, 3 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever, and you're like, cool, well, if I, rode that section a bit better and like I had my bike a bit more organized and whatever, like I could probably make that time up. Whereas I was like, I'd get beaten by like 10 seconds and you're kind of like, I
can't do that.
Can't do that. And then after 2 races, consistently getting beaten by 10, 15 seconds, you're just like,
it can defeat you.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing. You either find a way to fix it and overcome it, or it defeats you in a way. Yeah,
and I think like like I said to the other night, like my second year as a junior, by the time I went overseas, like I already knew that I probably wasn't going to race the next year.
Yeah, your mind.
Like I was not having fun already.
Yeah,
but I think it was still a fun trip. It was just the racing wasn't the fun bit. It was like riding all the bike parks with my mates in between.
Yeah, and that's obviously where it's kind of like spun off in a weird different way, how it's like you don't have to be the racer, you can be the person that does all the other stuff if you can promote yourself and push it properly. Yeah,
which I still don't. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
Fake it till you make it, man.
Yeah, with like
none of us do.
With that stuff, I'm like, cool, I post reels, which is like the thing you need to do. Like, I don't know, I've got a TikTok now.
Just talk to sponsors, man. Like the thing is, it's like, ask people, like, what do you want out of me? Do you want me to go do signings? Do you want me to go do events? Do you want me to like do more YouTube? Do you want me to do more like kind of art? Just straight up ask, what do you want? And if they're like, keep doing what you're doing, you're like, all right.
Which I've like in the past asked, been like, how can I be more involved, or like what do you want from me? And
what do you want from me? What do you want from me?
Daryl from Canyon every year is like, I don't know, just let us know what you want to do for the year.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. All right, it's like leave the ball in my court, and then I think that's how I've ended up where I am, where I can kind of just do what I want.
Yeah.
Because each year they're like, "What do you want to do?" And I say, "I want to do this stuff," and I suppose they're happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, creative freedom,
which is cool.
That's sick. Do you want to call it? I want to go get some food, I reckon.
Yeah.
What's the time?
Do you want to know?
8:30.
Yeah, 8:25.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty late. Yeah, I'm hungry.
I'm so hungry. There's a burger place that I saw like just across the road. I'm pretty keen to go there.
If they're still open for food.
Oh, yeah, some of them are open.
So. Yeah, otherwise
just get Uber Eats to the van. I got Uber Eats to the van in Sydney.
Really?
I was like parked up at this like cool lookout, and there was other cars around.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't really want to leave because I don't want to lose this park, because I was going to sleep there the night.
Yeah.
And like I knew the other cars would leave eventually.
Yeah.
So I just ended up getting Uber Eats to my van on this like secluded.
Or you just give them the rego number or something?
Well, I just gave them the street name, and they just came there. And I like in the notes, I was like, "Oh, we're in a van," and gave them the rego, but they just rocked up and got the food.
That's sick.
Because it was like $5, and I was like, I would pay $5 not to drive, because it was like 15-minute drive, so like half an hour drive, $5. I'm like, come to me.
Yeah, I should do that
at the
bus.
Yeah, the bus. There's Uber Eats there, man.
Well, when I move the bus here,
this is a much better park.
I just need to get it here.
That'd be so funny if you got it towed to another park. I think it's probably a bit nicer here, so you might get. I don't know if you get moved on or not. I've camped here before and no one said anything, but
Yeah, the bus is pretty obvious though.
it is obvious, and it'd probably hang out a bit. Oh no, it wouldn't hang out really.
Nah,
you'd be
but
fine.
you can park it in a normal parking space.
Yeah,
mate.
you'd be fine.
Fuck, can we not talk about the bus? I'm sick.
Yeah, sorry. That was a long story at the start. I just
I did tell you.
I know. I just kept going, and I was like, oh my god, this is like, yeah.
There's more.
But I guess it's like for anyone listening to it, they'll be like, I feel you. I feel the pain.
I'm living the dream.
You live in the dream.
We're living the dream.
How do you want to sign this off? Do you want to thank some people? Or do you want to like, how do we hit you up? Where do we follow you? Where do we see your stuff?
You can find me on Instagram at Baxter_Maiwald. And you can find me on YouTube where you can find the one bus video and a few other videos. I got like a cool enough, weird enough name that everything's just my name.
Just your name.
It's just either Baxter_Maiwald or Baxter Maiwald.
Sick. I'll leave it in the notes. Anyway, so.
But yeah, come up here, ride Boomerang Farm if you're on the Gold Coast.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta ask you a question.
Legends.
I gotta ask you some questions.
Yeah.
You got advice before we go? Advice to give?
Yeah, I thought there was questions.
Yeah. Advice to give someone for riding and for life.
For riding and for life.
Yeah, they can be. It's a lot of people are just the same, but if you've got like one for like life in general and then one for riding a bike, it's always good.
I think both of these apply to both things, but I'll specify which one it applies to more. I think for riding, just keep it fun and ride everything.
Yeah,
that's what keeps it fun for me anyway.
Mix it up.
And for life, but it also applies to riding and it applies to trail building. Pay attention. Simple.
Yeah.
People just need to pay more attention.
Yeah.
I reckon.
I like that.
Yeah.
And the last one, how do you want to be remembered?
Fuck.
Yeah, it puts people off. Jack didn't like it. Jack's like, what are these questions? And I was like,
how do I want to be? I want to be, holy shit. That's a heavy question.
Yeah. People don't think about it. It's like something I don't.
I would like to be remembered as somebody who, I'm trying to think of like an answer that's not just like generic as well.
Yeah, but like, yeah.
But like, or how to put it into words at this time of the night with no food. But
yeah,
I'd like to be remembered as somebody who would like, I feel like I go out of my way to help other people because I get helped a lot. So like, I never want to take anybody's help for granted. Somebody who's appreciative, charismatic, and put in a lot of effort to whatever I did.
That's a good one. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Solid.
I just don't want to be remembered as a dick.
Yeah.
I like to be remembered as a good person.
It just being remembered's a nice thing. Like, just being like doing anything worth being remembered is like.
Yeah. I got a question for you to finish it off on, seeing as you just loaded that onto me.
Hit me.
What are you scared of?
Oh, snakes. But I've overcome that.
There's some kind of like, not some generic fear. I don't want to know if you're scared of snakes or spiders. What are you genuinely scared of? What's your biggest fear?
What's my biggest fear? Probably like living a life where you're
Dean's just like not being remembered.
No, I think just like living a life where you're kind of just numb to like everything and like adventure and like love and just you're just getting by. Like it's a fear to just be getting by. Like
that's heaps better than snakes.
Yeah, well, I've kind of overcome the fear, but if I see a wild snake, I still freak out. But I think it's just the whole thing is just being scared of, like, not being what you know you can be. Yeah. Like, I'd hate to be 80 or 90 or however old, sitting in an old, like, folks' home and looking back and be like, I had so much more to give, and I didn't do it. Yeah. And that's terrifying to me.
Yeah, that's, like, very similar to mine. I just have, like... My biggest fear is not fulfilling my potential. Yeah. And that kind of just goes to, like, this conversation. Yeah. Like, I want this to be, like, as good of a conversation as I can. Yeah. Being a bike rider, I want to be the best bike rider I can be. Yeah. Like, relationships, I want them to be as good as, like, at least my half, be as good as it can be. Like, whatever it is, just, like, do everything to the fullest that I can.
And not waste time. Like, not just waste time for the sake of, like, you can't be fucked with something or something too hard, you think's too hard in your mind. Like, I heard this thing the other day and I love it and I keep thinking about it. It's like, don't let good get in the way of great. Yeah. And I like did a post today actually where like I've had 2 good years of riding a bike, but they were nowhere near great, and that's in my own standard. Like to someone else, for like a kid out there, they could be great. To someone else, they could be great.
To me, it would probably be great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing to other people, but that's not who you're competing against. You're competing against yourself. So it's like, to me, I've been coasting and I've been doing good. And this is another thing. It's like, in the same breath, don't let great get in the way of good either. So it's like, you can have experiences that are just good, and you and you can enjoy them for good.
Sometimes I just don't even start shit because I'm like, it's not going to be perfect.
Exactly.
But it's like, well, if you just started it and it was okay, that's better than just not doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, I got a saying that I always say is, don't let paralyzed by perfection. Yeah. And that's like when you think something has to be so perfect that you don't even start.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I'm so guilty of it.
Yeah, it's never going to be perfect, man. Like, just start it. Yeah. Unless you start it, you don't know what it's going to be. Just because you've got this story in your mind that it's not going to be to the level you want it to be. Like, dude, when I started this podcast, it sucked. I forgot to press record the first time, and I was on one microphone that I didn't even know how to set it up, so you won't even get, like, it was shit.
Look at us now in the best studio I've ever been in.
I wouldn't say this is the highest end to it, but like, I have a vision and a goal that it's going to get to a certain point, and it's going to be funny looking back at this and being like, that's where it was, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't there. Yeah. So it's like, you've got to suck at some point. And so with everything you do, it's like, you're always going to suck at the start. But also, you're going to learn the quickest at the start as well. So it's like the best time. It's the best and the worst time.
That's why I started surfing. I was like, I need to do something that I'm shit at. And I'm pretty shit at it. Like, pretty bad. Yeah. But it's fun. It's like good to suck at stuff.
But the thing is, you're going to be so much better tomorrow. And then the next day. And then the next day.
Yeah, I kind of have taken a few steps forward and then a few steps back. Because I like surf flat out for like a few days. Yeah. Like, before I left Tassie, surfed flat out for like a month. And I was like, oh, I'm actually figuring this out. And then didn't surf for like 2 months. And then went backwards a bunch of steps.
But we'll get there. The progression, though, is still like, it ramps up.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Sick. Should we go get some burgers?
I'm hungry, as.
All right, let's go get some food.
Sweet.
Signing off.
Thanks for that. We finally did it.
Cheers, mate. We finally nailed it on the head.
See ya.
How long did we do?
I don't know.
2.5 hours.
Hey?
That's probably the longest one I've ever done.
Really?
I think so. Oh, my ears. Oh, my ears. I hate these headphones. I need to get
I thought they were pretty comfy.
Nah.